Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us today as we are continuing our coverage of Georgia versus Colin Gray. We are in day 10 of the trial and we are hoping that Colin is going to take the stand today. So we'll find out in about 15 minutes. So until then, let's roll the intro. All right, welcome in everybody. How's everybody doing? Rock and roll, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Let's see, Cuda Girl, good morning to you. Nana, Richard, good to see you guys. Saudi Girl, Shirley, good to see you. Beach Mom, Brown Eyed Girl, JPC, Lily Wayne. Sassy, good morning to you. Thank you all for joining us. Miss Business, good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. Jad Ziadex, Tulips. Good morning, Kimbers and Amanda. Let's see. Kathy saying hello. Nana. Iowa Backyard. Good morning, good morning. Hey, Gordon. Good to see you. Love me some Bottleneck Blues for sure. Teresa, good morning. All right. Kuda, I can't read the messages, but if there are any questions and while you're talking, just read them out to me. That way I can hear it on my way to the car. Sounds good. Joe and Jedi Platypus, good morning to you. Scent Bunny, hello, hello. Welcome in. Just Stephanie. Lori, hello. JPC, good morning to you. And good morning, Heidi. Good to see you. Terry says, during hearings, court was supposed to be Monday through Thursday. I just want to clear that up. And I say I was wrong. Okay, not sure. Oh, that's Corey. Yeah. No. They were supposed to have Fridays off. I'm thinking maybe, Terry, because they took off, basically they were kind of off the other day. Maybe he's trying to catch up, maybe. Yes, Lily Wayne, Kuda and Hellrider were scheduled to go. Kuda's there, I think, or she's on her way. Jane Dixon, good morning to you. TGIF as well. Brown Eyed Girl, good to see you. Garden Critters, welcome in. Bama Green Eyes, Dream Horse. Will we have another Ego Takes the Stand? We very well may. Amanda, good to see you. All right. If I missed anybody, I apologize. YT Hazel, there you are. Good to see you. Miss Baba Yaga. All right. I hope I got all of you. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Just give me a wave just in case I missed you. Jill, good morning to you. Mally, good to see you. All right. So we have a poll going straight away. So if you guys, I think you have to, well, I guess as you're coming in, you can see it. Now that the state has rested, do you think Colin will testify? So far, 67% of you say yes, 33% of you say no. Jennifer King, good morning to you. My lips are sealed. Good to see you. Scott, hello, hello. Alice, there you are. Good morning to you. Tammy, I didn't mean to miss you. Trust me, I did not mean to miss you. All right, Cuda Girl, I'm on my way. I'll probably be about 10 minutes away, maybe less. Christy, good morning to you. Sweet Vampy, hello, hello. All right. Lori, I think he's going to testify. Well, hey, Sue, Hector's mom. Hello, hello. We know he's a talker, right? We know he's a talker. So we've seen him in 2 interviews now. I really don't see what benefit it would be. Ola. Did I say hello to you, Ola? I'm sorry I missed you. See Lisa, hello, hello. Jill, not the mama kind, hello to you. We heard, hey JPC, how are you? Stand for the truth. We've seen 2 interviews of his, right? And we know he likes to talk. So does he have anything to gain by taking the stand? What more can he say, to be quite honest? Like, what more can he say? Hey, William, good morning to you. Like, let's really think about that. What more can he add? What more can he say that we haven't heard already? I mean, he went through twice. He went through his story twice. So pretty much all he's going to say is, he opens himself up to cross. Personally, I would love to see him take the stand because that would be a good ego takes the stand episode. But Cross is going to just rip him up. Cross is just going to rip him up. Hey, Scroobnick, how are you? Elsie, good morning to you. Welcome in. Legally Blonde, what more can he say? I'm telling you, what more can he say? Tulips. Do I think he'll testify? Yes, he can't stop himself. Should he testify? No, he's going to talk himself into prison. Hey, Fanny, good morning to you. Miss Bree, welcome in, welcome in. Beach Mom, he can claim he was doing the best he could with the issue in his family. B-Dub, welcome in, welcome in. PB and Shelley, he's a narcissist. He will take the stand. I know, Cross is going to just destroy him, though. He really has nothing to gain, in my opinion. Lady KK Bella, good morning to you. Welcome in, welcome in. I just don't think he has anything to... he has nothing to gain. We've already heard him twice. And let's see, we're waiting for a feed to kick in. We've heard from him twice, 2 interviews. One the day of, right? And then one the following day. Hey, Crunchy Frog, good to see you. Heidi, he should not testify, but I hope he does. Christine, mostly just a loyal listener, but popping in to say hi. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Crunchy, I think he will because he is completely not self-aware and he can't help blathering. He can't help blathering away. And good morning. Elaine, good morning to you. Yes, don't forget to hit the like button. I shall do the same. I know I did on... Yes. All right. Like button has been enacted. Thank you for the reminder. Please hit the like button. I shall do the same. Yeah, what more can he add? There's really not much more he can add. Because under Cross, they're going to say, okay, you talked to Colin about the shrine. Yes. Why didn't you follow up on that? Why didn't you Google search? Do you not care about your kid? How much do you care about your son when he has these pictures? Are you not interested in what your son is doing? These would be the kind of the questions of, I don't know if they can ask those questions, but that's what I would be interested in. Hey, Brat. Good morning. Lily Wayne, his testimony may change a bit since he's heard Marcy talk. Well, then they would impeach him. Lisa, good morning to you. They would impeach him then. They're going to say, well, here you said, 2 years ago, this is what you said, but now you're changing your testimony, or now you're changing, why, they could totally impeach him on that. That's what I'm saying. I want him to, because for the court drama in me wants him to testify. But if I was his counsel, I'd be like, don't do it, because you're going to only open yourself up. You're not going to come across as sympathetic. You're going to come across as a father who ignored all kinds of warning signs. Kimbers, thank you for, thank you for those 5 Trial TV Live memberships. And Awesome. Miss Bree got one. PB and Shelly got one. B Dub got one. Awesome. I love when people are in chat and they receive memberships. Hey, it's me, D. Welcome in. All right. Yeah, Crunchy Frog. He thought it was Billy from Green Day, and then he also said Weird Al. He said Weird Al Yankovic too. Red Snap. They may talk him out. Well, Red Snap yesterday, and they may. Well, yesterday the judge said even if your lawyers say don't do it, you can change your mind, or if they say do it, you can change your mind. So he still has the ultimate say. Even if his lawyers are saying, don't do it, don't do it. Hey, Weekend Warrior. Let's see, Joy. All caps coming in with all caps. I think his lawyers will not let him do that. That would be such a bad mistake. Cross would come apart. Alice. Hold on. Let me get you. There you go, Alice. Thank you for the 5 Trial TV Live gifted memberships. Welcome in, new members. Welcome in. Hey, Joe. Kuda is in the courtroom. So hopefully we will get a call in later. All right, looks like we got a feed here. Let me bounce over here. And, nope, don't want to do that. I want to do this. All right, here we go. All right. All right, so while we wait, let me pull up my notes from yesterday. Let's see here. Now, yesterday we heard from 2 witnesses. Both of them were, well, one was a special agent and the other was an investigator. And Investigator Ashley Gilland, I should say. She put together. Was it the timeline? Yeah, she did the timeline. Hold on a sec. She pulled in all of the text messages and did she do the timeline? Yes, she did the timeline. It was Special Agent Lucas Byer that showed us the video. So she gave us the calendar. And then it was the timeline, if you will, based on that calendar of everything that he did, that Colt did, that Colin did, that Macy did. All the purchases, all the purchases that had to do with firearms. And then after that was Special Agent Lucas Byer, and he gave us the video. You remember that video was pretty chilling. Aaron put together a short. If you guys haven't seen Aaron's short that she put together, it's pretty intense. So that was the testimony yesterday. Now, if he doesn't testify, what happens if he doesn't testify? They were talking about the charging conference too. So I don't know if they've finalized the charging conference, finalized the charges and the jury instructions yet or not. So again, if I was a juror, I would not be happy coming in and then be told to turn around. Then also we have that sick juror. Don't forget about that. We have a sick juror. Hopefully he's feeling better, even though he's probably infected everybody. Hey, Kim. Good morning to you. Richard, good to see you. 80s Music Man, good morning to you. Jennifer, thank you for joining us. Allison, Canero filed a motion for a new trial. Of course he did. Yeah, of course. Bonfire Barbie, sorry, I can't remember what got the school to look for him before. I can't remember what got the school to look for him before. Well, Mom called in. And also the first period teacher, because he was asking about active shooter drills. If that's what you're referring to, I'm not quite sure. Hey, Raj, welcome in. Cuda Girl, okay, not sure if Hellrider is here, but I'm in the gallery now, so I'm going to go off for a bit so I don't get looked at. Sounds good. Sounds good, Cuda. All right, thank you for being there. Appreciate that. All right. Let me see here. Joanne, 14 months. Thank you all for making Trial TV Live the best community. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. And I appreciate you and all that you do. Elaine, I hope today goes smoothly with no drama. William, I was thinking about the possibility of more illnesses this morning. I know, right? Because like once it's in your head, right, it's like there's the power of positive thinking, but then there's also the power of like, oh gosh, now we know this guy was sick. Now we know this guy, you know, I've been sitting next to this guy, you know, and, you know, all for you know, 2 weeks now, you know, is that gonna make you sick or not? I don't know. Joy, I'd like to know who that juror is that was sick yesterday. Is he old or young? He sounded like in his 30s or 40s, right? He didn't sound young, and he didn't sound like old either. And by old, you know, my age. Yeah, right? He sound like he might be in his 40s-ish? Kathy saying yes, thank you to Cuda. All right, here we go.
Good news, I think our jurors feeling better. So, we'll correct the record, not the trial record, just the record. My understanding is Alan Walker was not in court yesterday. Any picture was taken from some of the hospital treatment. All right. Mr. Gray, at the end of the day yesterday, I went over your rights with respect to testifying or not testifying. I just want to hit those one more time. So do you understand that you have the right to testify? If you want to testify, no one can prevent you from doing so.
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you understand that no one can make or compel you to testify? That is, do you understand that you have the right not to testify if you don't want to?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that not your lawyer, but you personally are the one who decides whether you will testify or not?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you do not testify, then I will charge the jury that they cannot use that decision of not testifying against you in any manner in their deliberations and reaching a verdict.
I understand.
You understand that if you do testify, then you'll be examined not only by your attorneys, but cross-examined by the state.
I do.
All right. Have you decided whether or not you wish to testify?
Yes, sir.
And what is that decision?
I will.
All right. I'm finding that the defendant has decided to testify with a complete understanding of his rights. Is there anything we need to take up before the jury's brought in?
Nothing to say, Your Honor.
Nothing. Okay. And did the state confirm that all your intended exhibits
We confirmed internally, and then we're going to provide Dawn a list, and she'll confirm as well.
Okay. All right. You all ready for the jury then?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you bring it in, Terry.
Yeah, that's fine. Your Honor?
Yes.
Wait a minute, please.
Sure. Stand and wait or sit and wait? agreement. Good morning. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day yesterday, the state rested their case. Does the defense have any witnesses they wish to call?
Yes, Your Honor, we do.
Go ahead.
We call Colin Gray at this time, Judge. Judge, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I got a bad cough. Would it be okay if I put this in my mouth to keep from...
Sure.
You raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give before this court and jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you state your name for us, please?
Colin Gray.
And would you spell it for the court report?
COLINGRAY.
And Colin, where did you grow up?
So I grew up originally Marietta, Woodstock area. Spent most of my youth, middle teenage, high school years there. I guess early 20s, mid 20s or so, moved out to Winder Barrow.
And when did you end up meeting Marcy?
So I met Marcy, I would say 2008, after the stock market crashed, 08, 09, construction basically came to a halt. I was offered a job at Lund International and met her there.
All right. And what kind of work were you doing when you met her?
So my entire career has been in construction as a construction superintendent. During my time at Lund, I was a director of facilities at Lund when I met Marcy.
All right. And I think we heard that she was an engineer, is that correct?
She was an engineer there, yes, sir.
And did you and Marcy have children?
We did. We had 3. Colt was the first child born. Jenny Reen was our second, and little Coley was our third.
Okay. When Colt was born, where were you living?
So we were living on Beach Creek Circle in Winder.
Okay. And how long did you reside in Winder?
So when I first met Marcy, we dated for a very short time, and I moved in with her. So I would say that, 09-ish time frame until after Jenny was born.
Okay. And at some point, I think we saw in one of the statements you moved to a farm.
In Statham, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you keep the farm?
So we kept the farm for several years. All the kids, I think, went through 4th or 5th grade at Statham Elementary. Little Coley was born there 2016, so we were there for the majority of our marriage, I would say.
Okay. And at what point did you leave Statham?
So we left Statham, I would say, maybe a year prior to COVID. The original game plan there was we had purchased a boat, and we're thinking that the market was decent. You know, we had talked about building our own home. It was something I was interested in doing. And we really enjoyed the lake life. So the original thought was we could sell the farm and make a pretty good profit, and find a parcel of land up near or on Lake Lanier and build a home.
And what age was Colt at the time that you moved from Statham?
Oh, so he was probably 4th or 5th grade, so 8, maybe.
Okay.
8 or 9. I can't really remember exactly how old he was. He was little.
And did he go to school?
He did go to school, yes, sir.
Was he regular attendant at school?
He was.
Was he a smart kid?
He was a smart kid.
And where did you move after you left Statham?
So we rented a home up in Gainesville, up on Lake Lanier. We wanted to have a place that was on the lake if possible, and it came with a boat dock, so we could just keep the boat there. And really, the kids enjoyed the boat, skiing and tubing and fishing and playing all the time. So that was a big deal to us, and we were able to find a home in Gainesville and move there.
Okay. At some point during your working career, we heard on the video that you broke your back.
So, right. So that would be 07, late 06, 07. I ruptured my L5 disc, which required a surgery, a back surgery. It's called a laminectomy. And had that surgery, and I would say 09, maybe 10, 11 months later, re-ruptured the disc and had to go back in for a second back surgery.
Okay. And did they put you on pain medication for that?
I had been taking pain meds really after that second surgery, just to kind of get me through that surgery. The second one was a little more painful. They were, I'm not a doctor here, but they did take a piece of my vertebrae out of my spine and kind of pack it behind the disc to kind of help it from rupturing or popping out or herniating is what he was more worried about. And so I was taking pain medicine all the way up until my third spine surgery, which was fusion, I think was in 2017.
And at some point, did you get hooked on those pain pills?
So I don't know if hooked is the right word, more of a fear of the pain. It took a lot to do what I did every day at work. 10 to 12 hours a day, walking multiple flights of stairs. So it entailed anywhere from 5 to 8 miles of walking a day. So the pain medication would help for sure. But even then, at some point, it was a combination of I really wasn't a fan of taking medication or anything like that because the responsibility that I had at work. And then as time went along, I felt like the effect that I was taking them for really wasn't doing what it was initially supposed to do. So that's what led me to the third surgery and getting involved with other people. Like, look, I don't want to keep doing it like this. I was taking so much Advil, I was worried about doing internal damage. Something wasn't right after that second surgery, and I could feel it. So that's what led to the spine fusion conversation.
And at some point, did you lose your medical insurance?
So I lost my medical insurance when I changed jobs. So I had finished a relatively big project downtown, and a couple of the guys that were with the company I was working for decided they were going to start their own general contracting business and wanted me to come along with them and mentor, kind of general superintendent type of thing, and bring on talent and just help him build his company into what it was. So there was a lag of insurance in between those job changes.
Okay. And at some point, during the times that you had lost insurance, did you decide that it would be a good idea to get on methadone?
So I did, because I didn't have insurance, and I had been taking the pain meds regularly for a while, and then as I tried to scale back myself, I realized it was like, the withdrawal from taking pain meds for that long, I really never even considered what would happen just stopping. So there were several times where I was very sick, and so had some friends that had done the same thing, went through this program, and said, hey, listen, there's a place in Auburn, Georgia, that they use methadone the same way. And I'm like, I know what methadone is for. I said, I'm not a heroin addict. That's what, I always related that word to. So I met with them and said, listen, I'm confused on what this is and how this works. And so I was advised at that time that this was a synthetic type of drug, and that there was not the euphoria, if you will, that came from taking regular pain meds, but it helped tolerate the pain, which was what I was actually looking for, but more importantly, it kept you clear, and it subsided 90% of the withdrawal that your body was going through. So I thought, this is kind of everything in one package here. So did not have medical insurance, and they offered the program where I could pay out of pocket to them.
Okay. At what point did you move down to Fitzgerald?
So we moved to Fitzgerald. I'd started this company with these gentlemen, and I think we were on our second project or so, and we started hearing whisperings of COVID, and nobody really knew what that was, and I certainly didn't. And as it went along, construction industry is very funny. It doesn't take much to throw it into people into, I wouldn't say a panic mode, but a more reserved mode, and spending millions of dollars to either build a brand new building or refurbish the one that they have. So work started to slow down, and I've been in it my whole life. Guys in the company, I could see it coming. So that's when I started having conversations initially with Marcy of a couple of different things. Like, I can see what's coming. Marcy wasn't working at the time. Like, I could see the slowdown coming. I knew this because we were finishing a project, and typically in my role, when I get to about 3/4 of the way done with one project, I'm already working on the next project coming down the road and staffing and all that sort of thing. Well, there were none of those conversations going on. We didn't have anything on the books. As a company, we had not bid any projects. So I could see was it going to be a full stop? No, but it was going to be a slowdown enough to where it would be detrimental. So combination of that and still dealing with a lot of pain, I approached Marcy and said, look, I think that this thing is going to kind of slow down to the point where work is not going to be readily available. What do you think about going down to Fitzgerald? Her grandmother just passed away. There's a family house down there. It's all paid for. And I said, she had made mention about looking for getting a job with Georgia Pacific up here in downtown Atlanta in an engineering role or something along those lines. But they also had a Georgia Pacific in Albany, Georgia, which is, it's relatively close to Fitzgerald. So I said, we could go down there. I said, kind of stress-free. We've sold the house. The truck is paid for. The boat is paid for. We have no real outstanding bills. We have no mortgage. So we just kind of have a little bit of free reign that most would not. And I said, what do you think about going down there? I'll just take 5 for a minute and just try to make sure I can heal, because initial x-rays, if you look at them, my bracket, the way it's screwed into my spine, is not perpendicular. It is off a little bit, and at certain movements it does hurt. And I said, I can take a little bit of time here and try to heal, just kind of take it easy. I could kind of reconnect with my kids more than I had been over the past few years, because work for me was intensive. So I couldn't be there for the kids growing up like I would like to. And I said, you can do your Georgia Pacific thing. And, I really wanted the kids to kind of see this South Georgia life. I spent my whole life down there deer hunting, and it's just a different, I think at one point I made the comment that the clock moves 10 minutes slower down there. So I wanted my kids to experience that, that way of life down there. And so we moved down there through COVID, and as it turned out, COVID hit and everything had stopped. So it was a good decision to go.
How old was Colt when you were there in Fitzgerald?
So I think Colt would have been, maybe he was 6th grade, is when he started down there. So 10, 11, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Did he have any problems in 6th grade?
So originally in 6th grade, I was the stay-at-home dad, which was a cool thing for me. So I would take the kids to school in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon. And Cole was making friends, had some buddies that he hung out with, and we would talk about those sort of things. And he was in Little League football down there, so we were at practice most nights. And he was doing good for all I could tell.
Was there a time when he apparently got behind a firewall and looked up how to kill your dad? Did you know? And she explained to you why he did that?
She didn't. She just told me how the school had found out that he was doing that or had done that, and that's all that she had said about that.
Okay. Were you concerned about it?
Oh, I was concerned. Went immediately to Colt. I think we were sitting on the football field after practice, and I'm like, I need to understand this. So the conversation I had with him was his little clique of buddies that he had. He said they were all kind of venting, and one or another were upset with what their dad was doing or not letting them do. And that one of his friends had made mention of not necessarily killing his dad. I think he was like, one day when I get older, I'm going to show my dad kind of who's boss sort of thing. And so Colt said, just as a kind of joking kind of thing, he said to me, I just Google searched it just as a random thing. And I explained to him what a serious thing that was, and the red flags that come along with that. It's not a typical thing that a kid would do or search, and I expected to not have to be in that position to hear that months later from him or his mom.
How old was he when that happened? Was he 11 or 12, or do you?
So he was 11, and she was in 6th grade, I think. I want to say the reason I'm going at 10, 11 age is because when he was 12, I think that's when 12, 13 is when we went deer hunting for the first time up in Jefferson. So that would have been his age.
Based on his search, do you ever know whether a counselor at school ever talked with him about that?
No, I was not made aware of any counselor talking to him.
Okay. Did you always feel like that you and Colt had a pretty good relationship from the standpoint of discussing things?
Yeah, well, I always tried to create that kind of environment for him. I think at one point during all of this, people heard about the bubble. It's a thing that I kind of created with my children at a young age to give them the opportunity, and it may have very well stemmed from this incident that they could. I didn't really care what they did. I just needed to understand what they were thinking when they got into the bubble, and they could talk freely about what happened, and that way we could figure out how to fix it, and we would deal with the trouble or punishment after the fact. But there was always a free avenue of communication between us, and I was especially that way with Colt, because at a young age I kept telling him that he was, his brother and sister were going to always look to him, as a role model, if you will.
Any other problems with him in the 6th grade?
No, not that I'm aware of. We did enjoy our time down there. We did a lot of fishing.
Okay. What about the 7th grade? Did you have any problems in the 7th grade?
So 7th grade started up here in Jefferson. We moved back up here after COVID. I wanted to, Marcy, I think, had lost her job at Georgia Pacific, and I think had gotten another job in Douglas, I want to say, at an electronics company, and had lost that job. And so I started to think, okay, she was starting to show a little erratic behavior, what have you, and so I had reached out back up to Atlanta to see, COVID was not over, but it was winding down, if you will, to gauge where the industry was construction-wise and was things picking back up. So I made that call, and I had several offers, within a short period of time, and so I accepted an offer, and when I took that job, I originally left Fitzgerald by myself, came up to Atlanta.
How long were you here in Atlanta by yourself?
So I was up here for about, I know, at least a couple months. And the thought process, I went back every weekend, to Fitzgerald. And the goal was to come up here, get established with work, and just kind of send money. She just put it in the bank. We didn't have anything really to pay for, thinking that at some point here, which we ended up doing, was we would all move back up to Atlanta, and we would have enough money maybe to get rental properties and just kind of start over in Atlanta.
Okay. And at what point did you and Marcy kind of split?
So that would be about the time Colt, in that 7th grade time frame. Colt originally started 7th grade, was really going well. But at home, I was working quite a lot. I'd actually had a job offer after the job I came up to Atlanta for, making more money, and so being the single income, like, okay, $20,000, $30,000 more a year made a difference for us. So I took that job. And Marcy at this point was not working and was not getting out of bed. I think we've heard the shape that she was in. I would come home from work and just, it was not a good thing. I thought that it was something more than the drinking, just because of the scabs on her arms. And so Colt and I would have conversations about that. And so it wasn't the smoothest in our house at that time frame, early 7th grade for him. So
what about at school? Do you have problems at school?
At school, about midway through it, he he had came home from school one day and expressed that there were several kids bullying him. Originally, it was just kind of a mocking type thing. Colt's not, he was a real quiet kid. He was just super shy is the best way I can put it, and the story that I got from Colt was it started with him eating lunch by himself. There was a group of 2 or 3 boys and a couple of girls at his school that would mock him. And from that point on, it was a kind of a difficult time for Colt through 7th grade, in school and on the bus rides home.
Did you move at some point during the 7th grade?
So I believe that we finished 7th grade, and I tried to make sure that I believe that he finished 7th grade, and I was getting close to coming to the end of the lease that I had in Jefferson. So working with my landlord, Marcy and my landlord at that time were constantly having a riff with the neighbor next door. And I had told her, I said, listen, the call I got from my landlord originally that decided we had to move, she called me one day at work and said, I have called DFAX on your wife, and you need to come home or I'm going to tell DFAX to take the kids. And I remember this being a Saturday, and so I asked her what had happened, and she said there was a confrontation between her, the neighbor, and whatnot. So when I got home, I met with the landlord, and she said, this is what I'm going to tell you. I have no issue with you or your children, but Marcy can no longer stay on the property. So she has to move out of the house.
Go from there.
So at this point, the decision, Marcy and I were not getting along, obvious reasons. So she decided, and I had called Debbie. So Debbie came up, took Marcy, Jenny, and Coley back down to Fitzgerald, and Colt decided he wanted to stay with me, finish out school, let's get through this lease, and then, just him and I kind of live together sort of thing.
Okay. And when you brought him back to, where were you living when you brought him back? Were you living in Jefferson?
Well, so Colt and I never left, so we were living in Jefferson.
Okay.
Right.
And how old was he when you were living in Jefferson?
So Colt would have been 12 going on 13.
Okay. And when you were living in Jefferson, did you and Colt get along? Did y'all have any fights? Did he act up any at all?
No, we were. That was a time frame where I enjoyed really being with him. I had a little more one-on-one time with him. The bullying and everything, he could see I was up at that school talking with everybody on what to do, how to do it, getting him the counseling and everything, dealing with the principals, and just talking to the educators about where he was. What alternatives could we do for Colt to not put him around that type of thing? Could he just do his schoolwork up in the admin part, and not have to worry about that stress? So he appreciated that. And that's kind of along the lines where I said, listen, I want to explain to you how when I was growing up, when I had trouble or stress or whatever, at a young age, I was introduced to the outdoors, hunting, fishing, and I said, would it be something you would like to do? I said, we could hunt, and just kind of my original thought was this would be a great way I could bond with my son away from his mother and everybody else, and just kind of use that time as I did as a kid growing up to just kind of, put him in a comfortable place doing something we like to do. And he could talk to me openly and freely about what challenges he may or may not be having but also, a bigger piece for me was getting him away from screen time and computers and Xboxes and things like that. I don't mind that kind of thing, but it was just to the point where I felt like he was starting to, that was all he was wanting to do.
What kind of outdoor activities did you do with him during that time period?
During that time period, we originally just started kind of going to some areas to look at deer and show them, where we would do these type of hunts. And then as I felt like he was wanting to get engaged with that, I had some people I worked with that had some farms and some hunting land. So I think it was last day of the deer season, actually, I had said, listen, let's give this deer hunting thing a shot. See what you think. Prior to the deer hunt, I think I took him to the range a couple of times. We had gone to Mike's gun room, talked with Mike, and I told him what I was planning to do with my son. I wanted to buy him a weapon that could shoot a deer, and we didn't have to worry about it wounding it.
Let me ask you before you get into
Sure.
Mike's. Did y'all also do other things like?
So yeah, during that time too, I'm a big golfer, and I had little putting greens set up in our house, and him and I would putt in the living room, just kind of messing around. So I'd asked him, hey, would you like for me to teach you to play golf? I've been doing it my whole life, and kind of just a casual conversation, but he was like, I would love it. So purchased him some golf clubs off of Amazon. We lived in Jefferson still at this time, but we would come to the Chimneys here in Winder. They had a really great practice facility, and we would hit range balls, and I was trying to teach him how to hold a club, how to hit. We did that several times.
Did you also buy him a guitar?
So we did. Actually, I think that was later on down the line. We played golf. We played golf several times. We were practicing all the times, and I'm trying to just whatever I could do to just interact with him away from the computer screen. So he'd always had an interest in music. So went to Guitar Center, went one day, and spent the afternoon in there and bought him his first guitar. And I'm left-handed, so we could not find one for me on that specific trip, and bought him an amp, and he started kind of trying to figure it out on his own. And then we went back. He enjoyed it so much, we went back, and I bought him a second guitar, and I had found a kind of a beat-up, used left-handed guitar for me. And so that was another way that him and I kind of, on our one-on-one time, he was teaching me to play guitar and to read music, and I was terrible at it. And so we would sit in the living room and play guitars and things of that nature.
You mentioned Mike's gun room. Was there a time when you took him to Mike's gun room?
Sure. So we did the original, deer hunting conversation. I had told him that we could go. I've been to Mike's prior when we lived here in Winder originally, and Mike's a good man, and so Colt and I went in there, and I was explaining to Mike what we were doing, and he understood it. Trying to get Colt engaged in the outdoors, and so kind of just going through the guns and explaining what all the rifles were, and Colt had seen me through the years shoot deer rifles on our farm in Statham, and him being a little bit little at that time, he would see they were big, they were loud, and they kicked. So he didn't want that. He didn't, that was his thing, is he was afraid of the kicking. And I said, they're not all built like that. I said, so we'll go and talk with Mike. So we went in there and talked with Mike, and I explained to him what we were doing. And so Colt, through the gaming and Call of Duty and all the things the kids are into nowadays, a lot of the weapons when you go into a gun store are what I call an AR platform. Everything from shotguns to little plinksters all look like ARs. In fact, the first gun I ever had Colt shoot was a little 22 on the farm that I had that looked like a gaming AR that they play with on Call of Duty. So my thought process was, I will do whatever I have to do to get Colt interested in the outdoors. So he liked this way the AR platform looked, and Mike was like, "Okay, I have these the Bushmaster 450, look like the AR that we've all talked about here over the last couple of weeks, different caliber, and it was big enough to take down a deer." So
is that the reason that you were buying this? Some people look at this weapon, it's a pretty ominous looking weapon.
Sure.
And some people say, well, that doesn't look like a deer rifle, but is that what it
So
was?
the weapon in question that we're talking about here was a different weapon than the original one I bought him. Even the deer rifle, the Bushmaster I used, it looked just like the SIG that we've been talking about here. And that's just the way a lot of the guns and weapons nowadays are. You still have the old style bolt action kind of things.
This Bushmaster that you bought,
Yep.
is that the one that we saw on the photograph that they showed yesterday at the gun range?
No, it was not.
Okay.
That was the SIG.
That was the SIG?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the one that you purchased first for him to use was the Bushmaster?
Yes, that was the very first gun that I had actually purchased it before Christmas, and had, it was specifically for our hunt. It wasn't. He wasn't old enough to own the gun, which we had talked through at Mike's. He watched me fill out the paperwork, and I'm like, you got to be 18. Went through this whole thing, so which I explained to him on Christmas. Yep, I did give him that Christmas present, if you would. I didn't wrap it up as like this is a gift for you. I actually had brought it down the hallway after presents were open and said, I had one more thing for you. This is the weapon that I want you to shoot when we go to the range. And if you keep doing really good in school, going to school and doing all the things you should, you graduate and you're 18, I will, this will be your gun.
Okay.
So,
Was there a time when you switched guns?
so after that, he shot that deer. Last day of the season, I explained to him going that morning that I had hunted for several years as a kid and never saw a thing in the woods. That 95% here, we're not going to actually see a deer. We're just going to go through the process and let him see what it took to do the day in and day out, get dressed in camouflage. We weren't in the woods 30 minutes, and a bunch of deer came walking out, and he was super excited. And I remember telling him to just take a breath and make sure this is what he wanted to do. And he shot that deer, and the deer fell right over him. So when he shot the deer, I was sitting right next to him, and the gun made a weird kind of sound when he shot it. And I looked over, and I could see the bolt was jammed, and the bullet was kind of half in, half out. He didn't notice, but I noticed that it had jammed. So after that, he said it made a weird sound and kind of a flash, driving home, he was like, it kind of scared me after I shot the deer. And I said, okay, I did not get the bullet dislodged from that gun. So got home, we sat down, took it all apart, got the bullet out. I think we went to the range sometime after that, cleaned the gun, let him shoot it again, and it jammed again on the range. So at that point, we went back to Mike's, and I explained to Mike, hey, it worked. It's a great thing. He shot a deer. It was the greatest day of my life. Made a video of it, showed it to his grandmother and some of my family and his mom, and I said, but the gun jam scared the crap out of him. And I said, during the course of that hunt, he'd seen some coyotes run through chasing some deer earlier in the morning, and I told him, I said, well, there's a hunting season for that, and explained to him I did a lot of hog hunting and whatnot. So after the gun jam, we went back to Mike's, and I told Mike, I'm like, listen, it was great. Gun jammed. I said, but even in his excitement, the 450 did kick a little bit more than he was hoping for, I guess. And I did have a kind of a different scope on it than what we all see here. And he said when he shot that deer, the scope, it didn't bruise him. He said he just felt the scope kind of come up. And he didn't like that. So we traded that gun back in at Mike's. And I told Mike I was just looking for something a little lower caliber for him to shoot, that he was really enjoying going to the range and whatnot, and that we were going to do some varmint hunting, throughout the year in between deer season. So that's where the 223 came up.
Let me bring you back to during the time you were in Jefferson. Was there a time that the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office sent someone out to talk with you about some alleged threat?
Absolutely.
And did you cooperate with them?
Yes, I absolutely did. It took me completely by surprise. I remember getting up super early that morning to watch the British Open with Colt. I think we were sitting there at 5 o'clock because British Open time's different. So we're up super early. And midday, I think we watched part of the golf tournament. I fell back asleep, actually, and got a knock on the door. Two Jackson County sheriffs at the door.
Did they tell you what they wanted?
Sure. They asked me if Colt was there, and I told them he was.
Did you ask Colt to come out?
Yeah, I went back into the room, and said, hey, listen, the sheriff's department's here. They've got some questions for you. And I asked him at that time, like, is there anything I need to know about here? He was just as surprised as I was. So I went and got him, brought him back out.
And did the officer speak with him?
Yes, they did. They originally, before I'd gotten Colt, I'd asked him, what is this about? And he had made mention of Discord, asked me if I knew what Discord was. I'd never heard the term Discord until that moment. I told him I don't know anything about Discord. I don't know what that is. So when he brought Colt, we brought Colt out there, and that's when they had the discussion about computers and did he have a Discord account.
Okay. And after that conversation that he had with Colt, did he have a conversation with you?
The sheriff? Mm-hmm. So yes, it was between all of us. I remember him asking Colt about Discord and what basically the allegations were. FBI had a tip, something about school shootings, and I immediately was like, I need to understand where this came from. This is it's an extremely serious thing for me. This is not a joking matter. Even if this is not Colt. I still want to know how it ends up that they're at my front door. I was very serious about and making sure Colt understood how serious this was, and ultimately, if they didn't like what he said, the second officer was there to take Colt with him. That's what the sheriff had explained to me. So I was whatever I had to do to talk to them, anything they wanted to know. I basically was like, yeah, let's figure it out. I told him at one point in this conversation, if he even thought that this was related to Colt in any way, shape, or form, he asked me if I had guns in the house. I said I did, and that he could take them. He could take those guns out of my house. I will go get them. He can take them with him.
Okay. Did the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office ever follow up with you about anything?
So during the course of that, conversation with him, I wanted as much information about this as humanly possible. And at the end of the conversation, he and I walked away, walked over to his car, and he said, listen, I believe Colt. And I said, okay. He said, I've still got some more information I need to look through and go over. And he said, I'll call you. And the next day, I think, is when we talked. I said, do you have a card? He gave me his card. I said, you can call me any time. I said, if you find out any more information, I just want to I want to know what you know. It was important to me right then to know what was happening, and he assured me that he would. So we talked the next day, actually, early that morning, I think it was, and he said that, hey, listen, I've gone through some more of my investigation. He said, he explained the chat room and how many people were in it, and then he said he made mention of, I think it was Sacramento, California, maybe the IP address or something. It came back to somebody in California, and that it came back to somebody possibly in Russia.
Okay.
And so at that point, he was like, I don't see an issue here with Colt. And he said, if there's anything else, I'll reach out to you, but there's nothing further at this time.
Did he ever tell you to lock the guns up?
He just, not necessarily to lock the guns up, but he said, hey, just make sure that there's not free access to the guns. He asked me where they were. I told him they weren't locked up. I said they are in my master bedroom closet where I kept the guns for most of my life, and when Colt was little, I said they're up on the top shelf of my closet, not just laying around the house.
Okay. Is that, since he was 11 years old, is that the first time that he had any potential issues or problems, to your knowledge?
Problems with
acting out or acting depressed or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that episode with Jackson County would be classified as a depression or whatnot. Nobody could really ever tell me if this was him, doing what they were there to do. So we had, there were times, when acting out with Colt really wasn't something that was ever part of his makeup until he was old enough to start requesting, I would call, a little bit pricier things that I had to buy for him. And sometimes if he did not get his way about whatever it was, we may have words back and forth. He's just a little impatient.
Would he throw temper tantrums sometimes?
Yeah, if he wanted something really bad after everybody moved out and it was just him and I did have a little more free reign with buying him things. Jenny and Coley weren't there. Marcy was not there. So I had a little more freedom. I was at a job making more money. So I could afford to buy him a little extra here and there, and so I wouldn't say he got accustomed to it, but he just didn't understand when he would ask for something why I couldn't buy it right then.
That brings us up to the 8th grade time period.
Okay.
The beginning of the 8th grade, where were you?
So beginning of 8th grade, I think that we had moved back to Harrison Mill Road, Bethlehem area.
Okay. And were you and Marcy living together at that point?
No, she was still down in Jefferson, I believe.
Okay. In the beginning of the 8th grade, was Colt in Jefferson or was he in Fitzgerald?
So it was kind of a hybrid. He, going back to not getting really what he wanted all the time from me, Debbie would buy him whatever he wanted almost immediately all the time. So he kind of had that connection with her where he felt like he could get a little more from her. On top of, I think he was missing Jenny and Coley a little bit, and so there was a time where he was up here in Bethlehem with me. Debbie would come up, and he had gone back to Fitzgerald for a time, and then came back up to Bethlehem. So there was I don't remember the dates exactly of when that was, but I know he was back and forth.
Okay. In the beginning of the 8th grade, was he there or here, if you remember?
So originally, what had happened, I'm trying to recall exact dates here, but I know there was conversation of like late 7th grade, 8th grade, that we started talking about online school. Debbie and I were involved in those conversations quite a bit. And then at some point, I want to say it was over the summer, late summer, he had gone back to Fitzgerald with Debbie, packed up all of his stuff, and Debbie had talked to Colt and said, "Hey, listen, we can do homeschooling down there." And Debbie was retired, and she would just kind of help him through homeschooling and kind of teach him. And actually, Jenny was a part of that conversation as well when they were down there in Fitzgerald. So I spent a time up here in Bethlehem by myself.
Okay. The Coley and Jenny, they never had a problem going to school.
No, they were
Even when they were living up here with you, was there a problem with them getting them registered, getting them in school, and them going to school?
No, they now. I want to be clear. This was a joint venture. Now, at this point, I've never been a single dad of 3 kids. I underestimated what it took. I can tell you that right now. It's a lot, and so I had help from Debbie with a lot of the registration. I had help from Debbie's other daughter, Annie, Marcy's little sister. She was engaged in helping me get everybody registered and in school. I was working full time. And so they were of great help, but we were able to get everybody registered. Jenny and Coley, that is.
And did you believe during the 8th grade that Colt was actually doing an online program? Right.
So this is where it gets kind of a little complicated for me, even look back on all of that. And so Coley and Jenny were good to go. Colt and I had a conversation after Fitzgerald and homeschooling with Debbie. This is what I want everybody to understand. There's a combination of things here. It was not, for me, it was tough on him. The bullying kind of affected him in 7th and 8th grade, and what's not brought up in this court or any kind of conversation. I find out later that, even the bus ride home for him, kids throwing shampoo bottles at him and milk cartons, and it was very difficult for him through 7th grade. So that's where I initially thought, okay, if he's going to homeschool down there, great. I really wanted to get him involved in middle school with Jenny. But we started down the conversation of online school here in Bethlehem. So he was open to that idea. I had talked to Jenny. I'm like, listen, I'm offering this to your brother. Would you like to do it? She ultimately chose to go to school. It was at that time I was working with Debbie on, like, let's just do it. It was simple down in Ben Hill. But as it went along and I found out it wasn't as simple as getting online and signing them up. It was more difficult than I anticipated. Everything was full. We were getting on into the school year. There were not a lot of options that were open and readily available for him.
Did your sister help you find an option?
Right. So as time went along, we're pushing through 8th grade, and he's falling further behind. And I realized that, and I had reached out to my sister Lorene, a retired school teacher, and explained to her the dynamic here, and that I wanted him to be online in school, and what had happened, and it was harder than I anticipated of finding him an open spot. And she said, hey, I know you got a lot on your plate. Let me start trying to track down some places where we could send him. So I'd had that conversation with her, and I think it was Georgia Virtual is where there were 3 schools she said that she had narrowed it down to. Georgia Virtual is what jumps out in my mind, that she requested all the stuff that she needed from me, birth certificates and whatnot, to get all of their stuff completed online, which I gave her all that information. And there was passwords or access codes created through that system in the email chain, or talking back and forth with Lorene. So I had thought in a time period there that he was locked in and doing what he needed to do. I explained to Colt, hey, we've got you registered. I had thought at the time at Georgia Virtual, as it turns out, maybe it was something that I missed. I thought that, I guess I had thought maybe Lorene, once I heard passwords and showed Colt what he needed to do, I thought it was as simple as him going in there and doing what he needed to do.
Was there times when you would check and ask him?
So I had asked him, I can't give you exact dates here, but I did call calling him from work and asking him, are you online doing what you're supposed to be doing? I remember him having a conversation with me about an algebra class, and when I got home from work, he was showing me a page of what he was working on. So I never verified. That's my bad. I didn't fact check what he was saying. We had established a trust between him and I, and a respect for one another, that he was growing up, and I was trying. That's what the whole idea was try to get him to just be upfront and honest with me, and moving forward to high school in the back of my mind is what I was thinking. But also, as this time frame was moving along, we were getting further and further behind, and I knew that. And I got to a point in 8th grade where it's like, man, I don't know if he can catch up, right? So I had a conversation with Colt originally and said, listen, Colt and I were at dinner one night, and I said, what would you think about taking the 8th grade over again? And I had a two-prong attack there on that. I didn't think that he was far enough ahead in 8th grade. And I didn't want him to come out of the gates behind in high school. You know, we're already kind of bumpy in school with him. And I thought if he could retake the 8th grade, that would put Jenny in the same grade as Colt. And they were close. They had a great relationship. Would they be in the same classes? Maybe, I don't know, but they would be in the same school with the ultimate goal that they could kind of confide in one another, get through school together. And a bigger piece was if they went through 8th grade together, they would go into high school together, and they would make that 4-year journey together through high school. That was my train of thought, right? It was never that I don't give a damn if he goes to 8th grade. That's not what happened here. It was very, very fluid kind of thing, trying to make sure I was, and listen, could I have done better? Yes, I could have done better. I could have done more. I see that now. But the overall goal here was just get him in a comfort zone place. And it got to that point where I thought, okay, well, I had to retake a grade. This would be great. If he could just go take the 8th grade again with Jenny, they could help each other and they could move through high school together. So that was the thought process.
All right. Now, was there a time that Colt went down to Fitzgerald to stay with his mother where he got into an altercation with her?
Yes. So that would be that summer time frame. I don't have the dates here in front of me. I just know that Debbie, and this was the time frame when Debbie came up and they took his computer, packed up a bunch of his stuff, and he went down there to stay. He was kind of missing Jenny and wanting to hang out with Mamu. And so Mamu had called me. There was actually 2 that I know of. This is the only 2 that I was ever made aware of. The first one was Debbie had called me and said that Marcy had slapped Colt across the face really hard. They were arguing. I don't know what about it, was not there. She just said it was an ugly argument. And I never hit my kids. There's multiple reasons for that. So Debbie said that DFAX was called. I didn't know if she had called or who had called. Ultimately, I find out that it was Annie that had called DFAX in the first episode of the slap, right? So I had talked to Colt and said, listen, you okay? What happened? He said, we just had a knockdown, drag out kind of argument. Mama was drinking and just, she just slapped me. And I said, and Mamu was there. She was standing right there. I was like, okay. That was the first episode. The second one, I don't think.
Did he ever tell you in that first episode that he broke a window on a door?
He hadn't broken the window or done the damage that we've heard about in court here yet. I believe my time frame was all of that happened after the second episode with Marcy, and it was of all things over chicken nuggets. And what Debbie had called me again and said that she didn't get Colt the right order from McDonald's, and I guess Colt smart alecked her about you didn't give me the right stuff or whatever. And Debbie said, and Marcy lost it. Her words were she attacked Colt, and she said just started hitting on Colt a lot, hitting him wherever she could hit him. And that I had talked to Colt about that. He said she hit me in the face, she hit me in the, and I said over chicken nuggets. He's like, Dad, I could smell alcohol on her. She's screaming, just out of control kind of stuff. And I said, okay, do you want me to come get you? And she was like, no, I'm going to go. He said, I'm going to stay with Mamu, which when the kids and everybody went down there, they weren't, I know we heard that they were living with her. Now, Boo, little Coley did stay with her, but Jenny and Colt, when they went to Fitzgerald, they stayed with Debbie, in their house. So that was their place. So I asked him, do you want me to come get you? He said, no, I'm just going to go back to Mamoo's and just stay away from her. So it was after that time frame where my understanding was he was breaking the windows. I didn't know about the couch thing until after I went down there to pick him up, and I received a call one day at work from him, middle of the day, and he was in tears, and I'm like, what is wrong? He said he had another falling out with his mother. He said, I slammed the door and broke the window, and it escalated from there. He didn't tell me about him cutting up the couch, or, it's kind of unclear who really did that. One says the other. I wasn't down there. He said, I just need you to come get me right now. And I said, well, where are you? He said, out behind the house, just kind of staying on this little dirt road. And I said, well, it's going to be 4.5 hours before I can get there, but I'll come get you. He said, Papa Charlie, which is Debbie's husband, he said, Papa Charlie called the police on me. And I said, for what? And he said, because when I broke the window, they said I cut the couch up. And I said, did you cut the couch up? He said, I tore part of the top of the couch off. He said, but they're saying I sliced it all up and broke these windows. He said, I slammed the door and broke one window above the doorknob. He said, and Papa Charlie showed up with Ben Hill County Police and wanted to take me to jail, basically. He said, and the police officer was telling Colt that he couldn't act like this and disrespect his mama, grandparents, and if he couldn't get it calmed down, that he would ultimately take him to YDC or whatever. And Colt was upset about that and asked me, hey, I need you to just come down here and get me and bring me back home, which I did.
Did you do that?
I did.
Did you go down that same day?
That same day, yeah.
And do you remember about what month that was?
I don't remember exactly what month that was. I don't.
Okay. Shortly thereafter, did you find that Marcy had been put into rehab?
I did. So the rehab came after I'd picked Colt back up, and we were kind of resuming what I was just talking about, trying to get him.
Now the other two children were not with you.
Still
at that
down
point.
there.
It was just you and
right.
Colt. Okay.
And Jenny was living with Debbie. She had taken over her mom's old room and whatnot, and that's where she resided every day, every night. Coley was in and out. He just kind of go with the flow kind of kid. And little Coley and Marcy were together a lot. Colt and I were back up here, and that's when I received a call. I think when I was talking to Investigator Smith, I said 2 a.m. I got the phone call. I actually, thinking back on that, I think it was 10-ish because I knew 4 hours it would take me. It wouldn't be there till 2 in the morning. So got a call from the DFACS case manager and said, I need you to come down here and pick up your children. Wouldn't get into why. Just said that they were in danger. I explained to her where I lived, how long it would take me to get there. She stated, well, can you just be down here at 7:30 the next morning? We'll meet at a church down the road from their house, and we'll all go over there together. I asked her, I needed to know what this was about. She said, I can't until we go over some paperwork, logistics stuff, and then I'll explain it to everybody all at once. I still did not know. In my mind, I thought as much drinking that she had been doing, I was like, oh, she'd had DUIs before. I'm like, oh, she got a DUI, probably had Coley in the car. That was my original thought. So drove down there the next morning. Colt and I did, talked about what we thought this might be, and met the defects lady, went to Debbie's house. That's where she was with the kids. Knocked on the door, went in, we all sat down. The kids were in bedrooms, so they weren't a part of the conversation. Actually find out later that Colt and Jenny had cracked the bedroom door and were listening to the whole conversation. And she said, listen, she said there had been a call made to DFACS, and I find out later that it was Annie, the little sister that had called DFACS, made a complaint that she was driving drunk or acting recklessly with little Coley in the car, something along the lines of to where they needed to hair follicle test her. And so she's reading off the timeline of when they did the hair follicle test. I didn't even know that took place. Apparently it took place a week or so, maybe 2, before I got the call from DFACS that night. And she went through the whole process of we hair follicle tested you, and here are the results.
Okay.
So,
and at that point, you took the other 2 children with you?
correct. She stated that I was to take all the children back, that Marcy could have visitation as long as it was supervised. And at that point I asked by who. I wasn't sure if it was DFACS. She said, no, you will be the one supervising, and you are the one that says when she can come and when she can't come. She cannot just show up. This has to be agreed upon time and whatnot, so I took the kids back.
Were you prepared to have 3 children
No.
at that point?
No, I've said this in passing to so many people. I hear people talk about single moms and whatnot and all the things they go through. And as a dad, I was fortunate enough just to get up and go to work. And, you think as what I'm doing, like that's the hardest thing in the world, is get up and go to work, as much as I was working. It paled in comparison to what a single parent has to go through with 1 kid, let alone 3. So I underestimated the effort and everything that it took to just keep everything afloat with 3 kids, let alone all the ins and outs and things that happen with kids every single day. It was a lot more than I could ever imagine that it being, and I underestimated that greatly.
Now, was there a time when Marcy called you and threatened to kill you and Colt?
So that day, I originally got a call from Annie, the little sister, and I believe I was cooking breakfast or dinner. And because I know I was cooking something, because I have a phone laying on the counter, I just hit speaker. I'm like, hey, and she's crying. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? You okay? Her original statement was, we can't find my mama. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find your mama? They're in Virginia. Like, they're all up there. Charlie's in some golf tournament. She's like, no, she came back early. I'm like, well, then she's at the house. And she's like, no. She's like, we can't find her. I'm like, well, how long have you been looking? She's like, since yesterday. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm like, okay, have you called the police or anything? Like, is something wrong? I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, God, I hope nothing happened to her medically, like heart attack or something. She's like, I've got the neighbor going over to beat on the door. Mary Beth is their neighbor, whatever they grew up with. And if she doesn't answer, she's just going to go in the house. And I'm like, well, call me back. Let me know if they find her, So Colt was like, what do you mean they can't, find her? I was like, I don't know, buddy. I said, you just heard everything I heard.
Now, were the other 2 children with you at this point?
Yes, they were with me.
Okay.
So she calls back sometime later, I don't know exactly the time frame, and says, Mary Beth is in the house, and they found my mom. They found Mamu. I'm like, okay, great. Is she okay? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean no? Is she in the hospital? What's going on? She said, no. She said Marcy had taped her to the chair in their office. And then not only taped her to the chair, left her there for a couple of days. They found her with soiled pants, and she just basically had to go to the restroom, whatever, just taped to the chair. And that she had taken one of the dog leashes out of the backyard and tied the chair to the sleeper sofa behind her so she couldn't scoot to the phone to call 911.
I'm going to object to the litany of things that he wasn't even there to know about.
Do you have a response, Mr. Gray?
I'll try to redirect, Judge.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you.
Sure.
But was there a time when you found out that Marcy threatened to kill you and Colt?
After what I was just trying to say right there, she went through what condition she found her mother, and she said that she had told her mother that she was coming up here, wanted her car and money or credit card, and her mother asked her why, and she said, I'm going up to Winder to kill Coley. And I'm like, to kill me? And Marcy said, yes, she's coming up there to kill you. And she said, she told Mama, meaning Debbie, and since Colt is your favorite, I'm going to kill him too, and you live with that. So that on that day is the first time I had heard that threat.
And did Colt know that?
He heard it on speakerphone while we were talking.
Okay. Now, Debbie went to jail for a few months. Was there any contact that you had with Debbie during that time?
Marcy.
Not Debbie, I'm sorry. Marcy. Marcy had gone to jail. Was there any contact that you had with her when she was in custody?
Right. So originally, I did not. And as time went along, Debbie had come up to talk, and hang out with us in Bethlehem, and explained to me what she had went through and what condition Marcy was in and how she was acting, and just felt like whatever she was taking, it just wasn't Marcy. She just had lost her mind. That was her statement, I believe.
Did you want to try to bring the family back together?
Yeah, so
even though she had gone to jail?
Yeah, so during that time period, Debbie and I had talked about, her being in jail, and Debbie felt like, felt bad that all that had happened, and that, maybe somewhere along the line she could have seen Marcy, acting and doing the things she was doing while she was down there. I wouldn't say felt bad for her being in jail, but just kind of a little down because her daughter was locked up. My kids were obviously upset. Colt and Jenny had talked about it. I'm not really sure how little Coley got brought into that conversation, but generally known in our house that she was in jail. I tried to keep the super negative stuff away from little Coley just because he's obviously too young to understand. And I thought, man, I just hate that all this happened for her. And the kids were like, well, we're going to lose our mom kind of thing. And at some point, I just was like, I don't want my kids to think that I'm just going to walk away from their mom. She's the mother of my children, and I didn't condone obviously what she did or anything like that. But I thought I could use the time and Marcy reached out, I think, through the jail kind of connection thing, and I think she called me the first time and had apologized for everything, said she was, I think her comment was, I took a whole bunch of painkillers and I was high on meth. And I just was not myself. And I would never do the things I told my mom I was going to do. Just.
Now, during that time period, you had all 3 kids.
Yeah.
Were there times when you and Colt would have problems?
So after that event right there, we, I wouldn't say we were having problems, but it was more along the lines of Colt. Colt was a good kid. He wasn't very patient with things, and if he wanted something and I didn't buy it right away, he didn't understand. Having the 3 kids and just, we've heard throughout this trial about how much money I make, and we never really talked about all the things I had to try to cover. And when it was just Colt and I could go and go buy a guitar for him and it'd be okay.
I want to talk about...
it just got to the point where I would have to explain to him why I couldn't spend $15 on a game he wanted to buy, and it would frustrate him. So we would have disagreements about that.
You told the officer in one of the interviews that he would bull rush you.
Yep.
What would bring on that bull rush, or him rushing at you? What would bring that on?
Okay. So there were 3 times that I can remember that we, the bull rushing happened. And again, I would never hit Colt or any of them. So, and was to tell him, like, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. He had gotten one of his arms loose and was flailing around. He hit me on the side of the neck, hit me in the side. I got his arms together until he calmed down. I just held him in place. The second time that this had happened, we were having a discussion about he thought he needed to take the Zoloft that his mom had given him, and I disagreed with that. So we had a kind of a heated conversation about yes or no, and I told him I don't want this. We need to go see somebody. This is not like taking aspirin. This is different. He was pissed because he'd been taking it from her for, I don't know, a number of weeks, and he felt like it was helping him and whatnot. Didn't understand why I would not give it to him, so that was the second time that we had that argument, and the third time it was about moving his bedroom into the laundry room and separating him from his computer to the laundry room. Same type of thing. He would, he never really would challenge me face to face. And in this last episode, I remember like, hey, I want you away from your computer. I just bought him. He had his computer torn apart in his bedroom, and he was pissed because I was making him move and to separate him. He wanted to stay in his little bedroom there. I was trying to create space so he wouldn't be on his computer all night long. But I had bought him a set of tools so he could work on his computer. He's really good at it. And during this argument, after I did the same thing, I could see him coming. You can see him getting worked up, and I just caught him and held him and said, you need to calm down, get him calmed down, like I'm going to let you go. So when you calm down, we can talk about things. I walked back into the kitchen, and he had gone into his bedroom, and I bought the wrong tools, as it turns out, for his computer. And when I was walking into the kitchen, I wasn't even looking at him. He had thrown a screwdriver, ricocheted off the door frame, and hit me. And that was, that was the 3 bull rush times that I remember that we had. Now, we had disagreements, and we argued, here and there about normal things. You hate to say normal when you're talking about the kids raising their voice and whatnot, but the bull rushing and fighting was not something that happened as much as has been portrayed here. We, if it was a disagreement, it was more kind of the yelling and screaming back and forth.
Did he ever threaten to kill you?
No, he never threatened to kill me. That never face to face, never heard that. None of my children, Jenny or anybody, never said, hey, nobody, Marcy, Debbie, nobody ever said, hey, Colt said he's going to kill you.
Okay. Did he ever use the gun to threaten you or any of the children?
Right. So, in these disagreements, this is the thing I need people to understand. The gun was a thing that him and I used to bond with, and I was very clear on the rules. Right. No loaded guns in the house ever, and he abided by those rules. He respected the weapon. We didn't have them in a safe. We didn't have locks on them, as we've all seen here today. But I'm telling you that he had a healthy respect for weapons. They stayed where I told them to stay. And in the heat of the moment, whether it was arguing with me or arguing with his mom, arguing or bull rushing, he never once made a threat to me or his sisters or brother or anybody that I know of going for the gun. He never made that kind of action or movement towards a gun, made a threat, never said anything about a gun. He was pissed about other things, but that gun was understanding we had that what it was for.
Now, was he allowed to have the cartridges in his room?
So the magazines were typically kept in my closet. The ammunition was in there as well. We didn't have stockpiles of ammunition just piled up in the closet. Typically what would happen we would buy ammunition if we were going to the range a few days before. We'd either shoot it all or not. Bring back the left, and I would always put it up in the closet there. My clips, magazines for the weapons were up in that closet as well. At some point, I think it was for a birthday, he had got a gift card. Debbie said, hey, I'm going to take him to Amazon to get some stuff for his gun. Colt said, hey, Mammy wanted to ask, could she buy me ammunition? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to, have it. We'll go to the range. I don't know what that time frame was like. I can't sit here today and tell you, yeah, she can buy you the ammunition because we're going to the range the next day. I don't have that time frame. And I said, sure, it's no problem. I did not find out that she had bought him 4 or 5 magazines on that trip to Amazon until after the fact. I saw them in his room. Laying on the shelf. They weren't loaded or anything. I'm like, well, where'd you get these magazines? He said, man, we bought them for me. Okay. So those magazines, they were empty, but they were in his room.
We saw yesterday a photograph of some Winchester cartridges that apparently were sitting on the shelf of the bed. I can't remember. Was that against the rule for him to do that?
So the rule was guns, ammunition, unloaded guns, and ammunition. Everything stayed in the top of the closet. I did have a green ammunition box that it did not have a lock on that box. It was pretty difficult to open that box, but we tried to keep whatever ammo we were shooting or going to shoot or any leftover ammo in that green ammo box.
Was there ammo in that box that was to weapons that you didn't own any longer?
So there, in some of those pictures, I no longer owned several of those firearms. I owned a .308 deer rifle. Didn't have that weapon anymore. I think there was a picture of a 41 mag box of ammunition. I did not own that handgun anymore. And I think there was some 45 caliber ammunition talked about. I did not own a 45 anymore. And this is consistent with the kind of the way we were all brought up with guns. I did it with Mike. I did it with the Elite Pond. It was a lot of buying and trading and selling of guns and upgrading, downgrading. It was just kind of something that I've done, my whole life. So, yes, there was a lot of ammunition that did not fit any weapon that I had in the house.
Now, we've heard that you allowed him to have unfettered use of that weapon, but it was always in his room. Was it always in his room?
So it wasn't always in his room. And were there times where that rifle was in his room? Yep, there was. And it was just there was never at any point during all of this leading up to what happened, there was never a perceived threat by me with Colt. I never heard or he never spoke to me about doing anything as drastic as he had done. So, typically if the gun was in his room, we were going shooting or had finished shooting, and it may be a few days, a week, or whatever, till we get around cleaning it. But we would always sit down in his bedroom or my bedroom or the living room floor, clean the guns, and I would prefer all the guns. Told him stay in my closet up on that top shelf, and that's where they needed to stay.
What guns were on the top shelf?
So we had hit the 6 hour in question that we're talking about here. I also owned an AR so him and I could shoot together, and then there was a shotgun. Okay.
That was the only 3 weapons in the home?
Right. I also had a Glock handgun that was my personal carry that I had on me basically all the time.
And that was in the car?
It was in the center console when I went to talk to law enforcement the day after, but typically it was either on my person or in my book bag when I went to and from work. We'd been robbed through the years 3 or 4 different times for copper of all things, and I'd through the years I'd go in at crazy times, work night schedules, that sort of thing. So I always tried to keep a weapon on me.
The state yesterday was pointing out certain days that things were said. Were there many days during the time that Colt was there that everything was smooth? There weren't any problems at all?
Yeah, there were. We've heard all, the last couple of weeks about trouble and issues and everything, but there's a lot of times where, Colt, he was a good kid. He was very respectful to me. I just don't, it wasn't an every single day thing where him and I had issues or bull rushing or the yelling and screaming or whatnot. Colt was a very good kid. We talked about a lot. Him and I went to church when it was just him and I originally almost every Sunday. As the other 2 kids came up there, he kind of slacked off going to church with us. But he was a good kid. He was a compassionate little kid, and he was really a thoughtful young man. He would help me fold laundry. He would help me cook. I was trying to teach him to cook. It was a little bit of a disaster at first, but he was respectful, and he appreciated all the things that I would try to buy for him when I could. And he the bonding part, which started the whole thing of Woods and shooting and all that, really I felt had helped. It helped him and I just, get that father-son bonding that I felt like he was lacking. So, he was a really just a good kid for most of the time.
We'll get you to call us, Mr. Berry. I think the jury used the restroom break. All right. We'll be in recess 10 to 15 minutes. Straight, you can go back to John. We'll be in recess for 10 to 15 minutes.
All right, welcome in. While they go to recess, let's go over what we, Living Ghost, I woke up thinking about this because a lot of you guys have been talking about this. If these firearms were in an unlocked closet, they were, but if he had taken a knife from a kitchen drawer, baseball bat from the closet, car keys, and done something, would it be different? So I was thinking about this. So all three of those, sure, could cause damage and or take somebody's life, for sure. The difference to me is a baseball bat was created to do one thing, and that's to play a sport, not to take somebody's life. A car was created for transportation, wasn't created to take somebody's life. A knife was created to cut meat and vegetables, not created to take somebody's life. Now, you could argue that a sword and a dagger, those were created for war. A firearm was created to take somebody's life. You could say it was created for a deterrent, sure, but it was created for one thing and one thing only, and that's to take somebody's life or an animal's life, right? Let's not kid ourselves. That's what firearms were created for. So, to me, it's a great conversation to have, and I would love to have that conversation further with people. But when you really step back and look at it, for me, that argument kind of falls apart because, yes, you could take anything. You could take somebody's life with your own hands. Are we going to now wrap up people's hands? No. I could take this pen right now and stab you in the eye, and you might pass. You might pass away. You might not. Are we going to now lock up pens? No, because this was not created to take somebody's life. An AR was created for one purpose and one purpose only. So that's what I woke up to. That was my thought this morning as I woke up. So you guys tell me. You guys tell me where you stand with that. All right. Let's go back and recap. I got a lot of notes. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through all of these. So, all right. So he just goes kind of through his he grew up in Marietta, Woodstock area. And that's really funny because I think New York, because I spent time there, but I know there's a Woodstock, Georgia. There's probably Woodstocks all over the country as well. So he just kind of talks about him meeting with Marcy, and I'm not going to go through all of this because we've heard it multiple times from him now. This is like the third time hearing all this. But some things that stuck out was his back. He ruptured his back in 2006. We kind of heard a little bit about that. His back problems, but this is really the first time we've heard specifically. So he broke his back. He had ruptured disc and he had surgery. And then in 2009 he re-ruptured it. He had another surgery. So he got into pain meds and he was asked, "Did you get hooked?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know if it was hooked or not." But it was more fear of pain. And one thing I'm noticing overall, just my high level thoughts, is that he doesn't give yes or no answers, which is fine. That's his prerogative. He can do whatever he wants. He's defending himself right now for sure. So he has the right to say whatever he wants to say. in whatever manner he wants to say it. So I'm not going to begrudge him that. But he doesn't give yes or no answers. That's one thing. And then the other thing is he does tend to, as we go through this, he does tend to put the onus, dare I say blame, he puts it on Marcy. Well, first of all, it was the school. That he had a great relationship with the school. He was talking with the school all the time. And we haven't gotten to the bus driver yet, but he complained about, why didn't the bus driver see this, book bag and weapon sticking out of the book bag. So he blames the school. He blames Marcy a lot. That the kids, Marcy was drinking and possibly doing serious substances. And she very well, I think she was. I mean, she went into rehab, so she was. But he's putting everything on Marcy. That's the family basically fell apart because of Marcy. And trust me, I can understand that. But he's not taking any I don't hear him taking any responsibility for himself. So he's blaming the school, he's blaming Marcy, he's blaming law enforcement. He even said when was it Detective Hill, Miller came over with another sheriff. And he's like, hey, with the whole Discord thing, he's like, hey, if you think Colt had anything to do with this, go take them. Take the weapons right now. They're right there. Take them. And they didn't. So to me, that's putting total responsibility on law enforcement. When law enforcement is just coming in and saying, hey, we got a tip. What's going on? Instead of really taking that to heart and be like, okay, maybe I should just be aware of that. Let's just, let me go on your computer. Let me just hang out with you. Let me, instead of closing your door or just going into your room and spending hours and hours and hours on your computer, let me hang out with you. Let me, and he's trying to get him away from the computer. And I get that. He's trying to get his son outside. He's trying to get Colt outside. He tries to bond with him through hunting, even football, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry, golf. It was more golf. And I get that sometimes it's hard to find something that teenagers enjoy, not only enjoy but enjoy doing it with you, with your parent, with the parent. So if Colt is so infatuated with computers and he's so talented, and guitar. Let's include guitar as well. It sounds like Colt was really into guitar. So throw him 100% into music because music will help calm that mind. Music is very analytical and very mathematical, right? So it sounds like Colt has a really mathematically inclined mind. If he can take apart a computer and put it back together and add parts to it, that kid's got some smarts there, right? In ways that other people don't. So that's where his mind is at. So instead of, let him be on his computer per se, but spend a half an hour with him and say, hey, show me what's going on. And by that, you might open up that door and you might find out, oh, wow, you are on Discord. Oh, hey, what's this Discord thing? That kind of thing. So again, I just see a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blaming, it wasn't me, I was doing everything I could, I took him shooting. Yeah, it was the best day of my life when he took out that deer. I even made a video of it. And you know what? That's all well and good. That's you do you. But at the end of the day, there were so many warning signs. And again, we have the luxury of looking back. I get it, and it's, what would we have done in those situations? It's easy for us to say, oh my gosh, we would do this, we would do that. And to a certain point, yes, I think we would. But then I think there's also points where we have been in relationships where we should have left earlier. And it's not until we get on the other side of that, we're like, oh, wow, yeah, I saw that warning sign. Like Aaron and I have this motto, or whatever you want to call it, with our clients, with Aaron's marketing clients and stuff, that virtually in any relationship, whether it's business or personal, that very first initial meeting tells you everything. Are they on time? Are they respectful? How do they talk to you? How do they greet you? Because that kind of sets, it's like first impressions, right? It basically goes back to first impressions. So if you look back on any relationship you've had, the good ones and the bad ones, see how those bad ones started, and then see how you, I don't know I guess maybe make excuses, or you just don't really open your eyes, or you're like, hey, you know what, it'll be fine, that kind of thing. I think that's where Colin is with all of this. He's like, this is my son. Obviously, I've grown up with him. Yeah, he's bull rushing me, but that's just a teenager. I just feel like he's just making all these excuses. And now looking back on it, I think, at least in my heart, I think Colin would have been like, after maybe that first time he bull rushed and the whole Discord thing, maybe he would have acted differently. At least that's what I hope. I hope that's what he would have done. So let's see. So those are some high level thoughts. So apparently kids were throwing shampoo bottles at Colt. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Marcy slapped Colt. Now, whether or not that's true or not, it very well could be. Marcy sounds like she was a piece of work back then too. But if she's drinking, that's no good either. Annie, who's the younger sister. So Annie is the younger sister of Marcy. They are the daughters of Debbie, and Debbie they call Mamu. Let's see. So Annie called DFAX. So that's how that. Oh, and it was over chicken nuggets. That's the first time we heard that. Colt hadn't done any damage yet. So Colt, apparently Debbie didn't get the order right. So Colt smart alecked her, and then Marcy just went off on him. So let's see. That's when he started breaking windows. And we kind of heard about this couch, and Colin isn't sure that Colt did all of this, meaning slice it up. So Charlie, who was Debbie's husband, wanted to call the police. We heard about that before. Let's see. Then Marcy goes into rehab, and they tested. So Annie called DFAX again, or maybe that's the same time. So it sounds like Annie was she was calling DFAX at least once, if not twice. He was not prepared to have 3 kids. So he talked about single moms. And as soon as he did that, I'm like, oh boy, don't say the wrong thing here, Colin. But he says, ultimately, he has respect. And, he says getting up and going to work pales in comparison to what a single parent has to go through. So he said he underestimated everything it took with 3 kids. So I at least, hey, he's kind of said the right thing there. Let's see. Then we talk about Marcy wanting to come up and take him out, and duct taping her mom. So we've heard all of that before. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think of things that we hadn't heard yet. So he said Colt wasn't patient. So if he didn't buy Colt something right away, he got, he didn't understand. So Colt lived by himself, so he kind of got this only child syndrome going on. Also, Colt being the oldest should have had that responsibility of, I need to take care of my younger siblings too. And you know what, Dad, I get it. Then there's that. I'm sure you guys, there's some oldest siblings in our chat right now. How were you guys? When you had like 2, 3, 4 younger siblings, were you guys put in the position of, hey, I have to help mom and dad raise, or do I throw a tantrum basically and say, I need you to buy this, and if you don't, I'm going to bull rush you, or I'm going to act out. All right, what else? So he talks about the 3 times that he got bull rushed. Let's see. The first time was Colt and Jenny were in an argument, which we heard about. He tripped, smashed a hole in the linden door. We heard about that. Second time was the Zoloft. Of course, Colin didn't want him to be on Zoloft. And then the third time, he wanted him away from the computer, and Colt got pissed at that. So let's see what else. Oh, he threw the screwdriver at him. So we heard about that. And then he says, I need people to understand this. The gun was to bond, and Colt abided by the rules, and he respected the gun. They stayed where I told them to stay. And that may very well be true, but on that day in question, it wasn't the case. Colt did not respect that firearm. On September 4th, 2024, Colt did not respect that firearm and the damage that firearm could do. So he may have respected it up until that day, but that day he did not. So then he talks about, we saw all these pictures, 308, 41, 45, ammo and everything. He doesn't even own those anymore. He says he's never owned a 45. He says they would swap and trade ammunition all the time with Mike. Let's see what else. He said if they would clean the guns, they would clean them together. Let's see. And he had a hand firearm. He kept it on him all the time because they had gotten robbed, meaning the work sites. He says Colt is a good kid, very respectful, compassionate, thoughtful. They would fold laundry. So, all right. Let's see. Sassy. First time I heard about the reason for looking up. Yes. What was that about? Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Thank you for that reminder. So that was the first time we heard that Colt was like in Little League football, probably 5th or 6th grade. And some of his buddies, they were hanging out, and one of his buddies said, when I get older, I'm going to teach my dad who's boss. And he says that they were joking around. So he goes home and he searches that. So all right. Lily Wayne, I did not believe they cleaned them together. There's a lot that's suspect and so I don't know. Suspect. Cuda Girl, Colin, in your opinion, spoiled him when it was just them up here, and he was used to getting his way. Mix this with the anger and issues Colt has you to get this. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Dr. Barry, where are you? There you are. The vice principal, thank you for joining us. The vice principal or principal can search, or the SRO if they have probable cause. Colton's backpack was searched. Yeah, that's was it D Martin, not Dean, but D Martin, female, D Martin. She said yes, that actually the SROs have to have probable cause. So the SROs are only there for security and backup. But if the principal says, hey, search this kid, then they will. But it's the, teachers can't. Teachers can't. So, yeah. And even the parents sign a waiver, or the kids sign a waiver. I forget if it was the parents or the kids, they sign a waiver. As soon as that kid goes into the school, they are able to be searched. So. John says Colt needs to be in a secure mental health facility. Yeah, I think so too. But at a minimum, he needed his dad to spend $180. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I don't. Colt. Well, let's see what happens with his evaluation. Let's see what happens with this evaluation. I mean, he did a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And he's still kind of young though. Like right in our other trials and in speaking to psychiatrists, schizophrenia doesn't really come on until like 18, 19, 20, right? And again, I'm no professional, but that's been my experience in talking with people and watching trials. So Colt was, 12, 13, 14 when he started to say he's got mania and schizophrenia. So I'd be interesting to see what comes back with his evaluation. Gina, Colin is blame shifting. Yeah, for sure. El Teddy, Colt acted like a spoiled child, like he probably was when he lived alone with his dad.
breaking point somewhere around 12. That's where we'll look to take lunch.
We're going to try to get through this a little quicker.
Okay. I mean, do what you need to do.
We're ready, sir.
All right, we're ready now.
Thank you, Judge.
Go ahead and resume your direct.
I wanted to ask you, right after the other two children came to live with you, did DFACS come to visit you?
They did.
Okay. And when they came to visit you, did they talk to you about anything that needed to be done in the home?
It was just a general conversation about the safety plan that they all, had put in place, their typical protocol of what they did, and that she would be doing a walkthrough of the house to make sure everything was the way it needed to be.
Okay. Did they ever come back and visit you again after that one case?
They did. She came back and actually did a walk through the house just to check, make sure everything was the way they expected it to be.
If you recall, when was the last time that anyone from DFACS came by the home?
There may have been one more visit from her after the kind of walk through the house. I don't know exactly when that date was. It seems like she was satisfied with the walkthrough, and the last time she came to the house, my understanding was to close out, the DFACS case as far as what she had on the books, and that everything was sufficient.
Okay.
I believe.
Now, you talked about Colt's computer. Did he have a computer in his room?
He did. He had a computer in his room, and I had purchased him and Jenny a laptop.
Did you know anything about any multiple accounts that he had or any of the websites that he was getting on?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you even know what Discord was?
Only time I'd ever heard Discord was with Jackson County, and periodically, only thing I really knew as far as so when I say social media, he didn't have Facebook, nor did I, but Discord and YouTube. If I was asking him, I think it was a couple times I made him show me what he was looking at on Discord, and it was typically all about gaming. And YouTube, he was just doing some, typical kid searches.
Did you ever see any communication that he had with any of the people on what we would consider the dark web?
No, sir.
During the time that you and Colt and the three kids were together, did he ever indicate to you that he wanted to hurt anybody?
No, sir.
Did he ever indicate to you that he wanted to do a school shooting?
No, sir.
Now, was there a time when Marcy came back and stayed with you and the kids for I won't say an extended period, but for a period of time.
After I received a call from her at rehab, it said she'd gotten her certain number of day chip, and that Mamu and Papa Charlie said it was okay and agreed that if I wanted to come down and pick her up, that I could do so. So I did.
And how long did she actually stay with you?
I want to say, 4 or 5 weeks, maybe, something along those lines. I don't know exactly to the day, the time frame.
Did Colt's mood change when Marcy came back?
It did, not at first. It did at some point kind of change and become a little difficult between those two. In the beginning, not so much. I know Colt was the one, I had a conversation with about going and picking her back up, and he was all for it. I had that conversation with Jenny. Jenny was not so warm to the idea, and we just kind of really kept. Little Coley was all about his mama and wanting everybody to be together. We didn't really get into in-depth conversations, but in the beginning, Colt and her were okay. I don't know what or when it started to change, but it just became a little more argumentative, I would say.
Okay. And were you doing things with the other two kids during that time period too? Were you taking them places, buying them things?
I was. I tried to spread it out with everybody as best I could.
Did Colt ever get angry about what you might be buying for Jenny?
One particular thing that jumps into my mind is we went to the Tanger outlets to buy school clothes for everybody, and I don't know, I spent $400 or $500 in the Nike store, and I bought, instead of buying Jenny a pair of tennis shoes, I bought her 2 pair of Nike tennis shoes so she could alternate, and I think a sweatshirt, and I think I only bought Colt a Georgia sweatshirt and a purple pair of Nikes, and he didn't like them.
Okay. Now, would you say that during that time period, did you do telephone calls or text primarily? During that time period?
With Marcy or the kids?
With everybody.
So we text a lot. In the beginning, I was not a texter. I'm more of a pick up the phone kind of guy. Our marriage was based on Texas. And, it was just a quicker way for me to communicate with the kids during my day. So I would say the majority was texting.
Okay. And when Marcy was there, did there ever come a time where there became a problem between she and Colt?
It did. Like I said, in the beginning, wasn't nothing really than just kind of disagreements, kind of a little bickering here and there, what have you. And then I want to say somewhere along the line, they had a disagreement. I'm trying to think. I want to say August time frame. We had all that going on, trying to get people in school and whatnot, and they did have, initially, they had a bad day, if you want to call it. They argued for most of the day, and then the second day after that, they had a kind of a serious altercation.
Okay. We saw a text message from Colt, I think yesterday, about blood on your hands, it's your fault, and that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
What was that in relation to?
So, the way that I had taken it, and I think Colt and I talked about this afterwards, was there was a disagreement initially about him going to school, and I was siding with his mama like this is what we needed to do kind of thing, and he didn't agree with me taking sides kind of thing. And he always kind of held that card about Marcy gonna, saying she's gonna kill him and kill me. So the blood on the hands kind of comment, it was kind of in a back and forth text. I think that argument between him and his mama, in the back of his mind, he was thinking, she's gonna do this, and when she does do this, that blood will be on your hands. Like, I shouldn't have sided with her. I should have always sided with him after she had made that comment, and he had made it in passing that he just had always kind of worried about would she ever follow through with that threat. So that's what, for me, I thought the blood on your hands comment was with, if she ever followed through with this, you're siding with her type of thing, and you should be siding with me.
Did you ever think that comment meant that he was going to go out and hurt anybody?
No, there was nothing that led me to believe he was out there even thinking about harming anybody.
During the time that Marcy was there for that month time period, did she start drinking again?
Not that I was aware of. I was pretty dead set on no alcohol or drugs or anything in the house, and just didn't really have it. For my birthday, I was finishing Rockdale County Fire Department, and I had the project manager from Rockdale County for my birthday brought me a pint of Gentleman Jack for my birthday. And I never opened it, and I brought it home initially back, in August, and I put it in the cabinet. When Marcy came back, or I knew she was coming back somewhere in that time frame, I hid that bottle above the linen closet in the bathroom, just up on the very top of the cabinet where nobody could see it. But I didn't drink it, never opened it, but once I put it up there, I actually forgot I'd even had the thing. So at some point throughout the years, Marcy had a way of kind of searching through things and finding, medications or alcohol or anything that may be in the house. And she had found, and I didn't know that she had found that bottle. Colt had made the statement. It was either the day before argument or the one where he pushed her down. He had made the statement that she was drunk. And then after they came into the house, GBI did a search. As I was walking out, I saw that empty bottle sitting up there on top of the linen closet where I'd put it. So I don't know how it got empty. I just know I had put it there and it was unopened.
Did you ultimately call Debbie and ask her to come and get Marcy?
I did. After the altercation between Marcy and Colt, it was clear it wasn't going to get any better. And so I had called Debbie and said, listen, I think, we need to just take a pause for a second. My initial goal was, when I first picked Marcy up out of rehab, those first couple weeks, man, she wasn't totally back to Marcy that I knew, but she was very helpful, man. She was really good. We went to church together. She was doing all the right things. She was helping me with school, trying to get him lined up and registered and doing all the right things. So there was this moment I was like, I could really use the help. Give me a little more freedom at work to do what I needed to do. And just overall being a part of the household, and at that point, any little help I could have in the house, I would definitely take.
She left, was that on the 15th?
So I think it was the 16th. It was the day after the altercation where Colt shoved her down to the ground. I called Debbie and said, you need to come get her and take her back to Fitzgerald.
Did Jenny tell you what happened in that altercation?
So initially I got two stories. I got what she told me had happened, and then I got what Colt told me had happened. And, you know, I'm trying to filter through. Marcy had a way of kind of manipulating things as she needed to. And Colt, for any issues he had, with me, we had established this trust bubble, so forth, where he would tell me what happened, and he would tell me if he was at fault. So there were two stories I was trying to navigate which one based on the information I had, and I talked to Jenny, and I'm like, what do you know? What did you see or hear? And Jenny gave me her version of it.
Okay. I want to show you exhibit number 2.
The whole thing. How far are you going?
Text messages from this day and this day that she text messages.
Oh, so you're going to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got that worked out. Let me show you what's been marked as exhibit number 2.
Okay.
These are all the text messages between you and Marcy. Those are from the 17th, after she left, until the day after this incident occurred at the high school. In any of those text messages, did she ever tell you that she felt Colt was homicidal?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you that she felt like he was suicidal?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you that he was obsessed with school shooters?
No, sir.
Did she ever tell you that he was obsessed and looking on the internet at Nick Cruz or any other shooter?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, during the time that you had the children, did you try to be as positive with them as you could?
Yes, I really tried to reinforce, even if it was, a bad day or things weren't going right, I always tried to find that. I don't know, they used to kid me. Like, I always give them a pep talk. That was the thing.
And did you text them a lot about how much you loved them and how well they were doing?
Yep.
Would you do that on a daily basis, every other day, or?
If it wasn't daily, it wasn't 2 days, 3 days went in between. I always tried to just make sure that they knew I was thinking of them and wanted them to do good, and I was very proud of them. They had persevered through a lot.
Okay. Let's talk about we'll try to get through this before lunchtime. I want to talk about when you went to the school to talk with the people at the school about getting me registered. What did you do in order to get him admitted to Apalachee High School?
So originally, when we reached out, had talked with the registrar and kind of explained what we were trying to do here. And I had started that conversation with her. I'm like, listen, not to get into all of this with her, but he had missed a significant time of 8th grade, and I wanted to ask her initially, was there a way that we could just have Colt retake the 8th grade? I felt it would be better for him and help him just kind of be more ready, if you will, for high school and not come out of the gates behind in ninth grade. And she, at that point, told me that her comment was, we just push them through. I remember it was what she said. She said, we don't necessarily fail any child, that we just push him through to the next grade and they try to help him along, catch up, during the next year or, first semester or so. And I said, well, okay. She said, well, let me do this. She said, I will work on a schedule for him that had part 8th grade curriculum in it to kind of help catch him up during that first semester and sprinkle in some 9th grade classes, kind of a hybrid of both in middle and in high school. And hopefully by the end of the first semester that he would be caught back up and be current with all the other kids in 9th grade. So that was the initial conversation with getting him registered for school. She said, this is going to take me some time to be able to build this schedule so he's not going to start with everybody else. And I said, okay, well, when will he start? She said, you're probably looking at him starting a couple weeks later than the rest of the classes and kids. But it'd be beneficial for him to have this kind of setup of classes and schedule and have this start date based on what she was going to help me do.
Okay. And is that the reason that there's a gap between the first day of school and when Colt was supposed to start?
Yeah, correct. She was tailoring the schedule to help kind of catch him up from 8th and in that first semester, bring him through 9th and get started. And by the end of the first semester, he might not be right there, but he would be close.
Okay. And do you recall the first day that Colt went to school?
So I think it was that 14th, 15th, 16th, somewhere in there. I don't have it in front of me, so.
All right. And
whatever the day she had said, this is it. This is the day he's starting. I want to say it's the 16th, but without it in front of me, I can't tell you
that's
exactly.
Fine if you don't remember.
Yeah, that was the day.
And I think we saw text messages yesterday or heard Colt told you that he loved it. He liked the teachers. He liked the people. And
right. So I received, a flurry of texts from him that said, I love this place or I love this school. And I responded along the lines of, I'm happy. I'm so proud of you. He said, I love the kids here. Everybody's so mature.
Okay. And did there come a time when you had conversations with Lisa Butler?
I did. Colt and I met with Lisa Butler. I don't know the exact time frame there. It was in the beginning of school, meeting with her. And I expressed to Lisa Butler that Colt had been through a lot of things. He had a lot of challenges, and I think in that conversation with her, I want to say I used the word he'd been diagnosed, and that was the wrong choice of words. Talking to her, what I was trying to explain to her is that there were a lot of scenarios, a lot of things that he had been through on many different levels, not, without coming out and saying that what his own mother had said about doing to him. I was kind of new at the whole being the parent, dealing with the school kind of thing, so I was kind of struggling with how to articulate that to her, all of his struggles. But we did meet, kind of went through what Colt was, how he acted, and what our hopes were for him.
Did you tell her that you thought he suffered from anxiety and depression?
I did. I told her that it was more stress, I believe is what I told her, and the anxiety was a fear-based, that he wasn't stand in the middle of the crowd, look at me kind of kid. He was very reserved, and that I felt like he was, we were all struggling with the comments that his mom had made.
Okay. Did you ever say to Marcy that Colt was a piece of crap kid?
No, sir, I don't remember saying that to Marcy.
Would you ever say that to Marcy about Colt?
Being a piece of crap? No, sir.
Did you and Lisa Butler talk about getting Colt into some sort of counseling?
We did. She had said there was a program called Aware, and it's kind of a specialized type thing where they really worked one-on-one with the child, and she thought this would be a great thing for Colt. And I explained that I had been compiling several places to think about taking Colt. There was conversations about Athens behavioral, inpatient sort of thing. I had reached out to several people, and that it was a fluid thing. I was, from my side of it, I told her I'm just trying to compile as much information on the best route to make sure Colt was good, so I had as much information as possible.
Did you rely on the people at the school to be able to tell you this really would be the better option for you?
Yep. By the time I got through talking with Miss Butler, there was twofold. She had some good things to say about Aware, and that had been in the school for a while. It was a great program, good thing. I was looking at it as Colt, after his 7th grade and all that he went through, he didn't have a lot of trust in the schools and school systems and counselors. And I thought, my take on it was, okay, this would be a great thing, kind of twofold. He would get help, he would get the specialized help he was needing, but I explained to Colt that also you will see that high school is different than middle school. They are preparing you for college. Things are different. But it also, I was hoping Colt would see it as he could believe and trust in his counselors and the school system, and that they actually had their, for lack of a better term, their arms around him. They really cared about his well-being, and wanted to help him, and that he would be doing these things at the school. So it wasn't like he would have to be out of school, going to different places. It was all in the same house, if you will.
Okay. And was there a time that was scheduled that you believed Colt would be talked to by the counselor?
So my recollection was that September 5th, I believe that was a Thursday, that everything was established, the counselor was set up, and that he would be, I don't know if there was an exact time, I just knew that they would be meeting early that Thursday morning. I think it was Thursday, but it was the 5th.
Now, did you know that Debbie had also come up and spoken with Lisa Butler?
I did, because Debbie was up staying with us a great deal of time at this point, right? So we had discussed multiple things, trying to understand what would be best for Colt. I wasn't really didn't understand the whole inpatient part of this. I thought, man, he's just going to end up, I just thought that was an extreme measure. Debbie agreed with that. Colt, the conversation I had with him was he wasn't really jazzed about that. And then Debbie and I would use the evenings to kind of formulate a plan. I'm going to work. She was like, I will go up talk to the school in your place. She's got a good, educational background. Her and Colt are super close. So we would talk about options and what we thought was best for Colt. We'd agree on whatever she was going to say, talk about, options or whatever with Miss Butler or whoever she was meeting with. I would go to work the next day and she would go to the school. So I knew when she was up there and basically what she was talking about because we talked about it the night before.
And did she tell you about the program that she wanted you to go to in Athens?
Debbie? Mm-hmm. No, Debbie never brought up the inpatient Athens behavioral inpatient part of that with me.
Who brought that up? Was that Marcy?
That was Marcy that was kind of on that.
And did Debbie have plans to come up and take Colt somewhere? Debbie and I had talked about this aware, and we both agreed that this would be the best option for Colt. So in my mind, I never had any other thought of, I know I had compiled a bunch of searches and looking at different places and talking to people, but with conversations with Miss Butler, Debbie talking about her and I agreed that aware was the best thing for Colt. Okay. Now, you got some paperwork from Lisa Butler
Yes, sir.
for that program. Did you fill that paperwork out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The state indicated it took you 24 hours or so to fill it out. Did you?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did it take that long?
I had to work full time. Wanted to kind of just make sure Colt was good with it. And he understood what was happening. And I filled it out, I think, the next day and sent it back.
Okay. Now, was there conversations between you and Marcy about coming? She was going to come up on Saturday before this incident took place. And y'all were going to take Colt to this place in Athens. Was there some conversation about that?
So the conversation originally was no. That weekend, that's the holiday weekend you're talking about? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about all going away as a family originally.
And why did you not go pick her up?
I didn't go pick her up. A couple of reasons. One, I thought I was maybe had to work that Saturday. I was not sure. It was kind of a fluid situation. But the kids, Colt and Jenny, they weren't really fired up about her coming back up here. Colt especially after what had happened. So I've been through this enough with her, so I just kind of made the decision that listen, I'm not really sure Tuesday or Saturday if I have to work even for half a day. So I didn't go down and pick her up because I wanted the kids to be comfortable. I wasn't sure if I had to work. And for me, it's a 9.5-hour round trip to go get her.
Did you tell her that you were going to take Colt to the program there in Athens?
There was never a set time said to me to go take Colt. She was like, they're open anytime. You can take him on a Saturday, I think is what she said. But at this point, during these conversations, we were set for aware in the school. So I had a plan in place.
Okay. And I'm sure you're going to be asked, you went to Athens that day, but you didn't take him to that program.
I did not. We went to Guitar Center.
Okay. You went to a guitar store. Mm-hmm. And did you buy him this hat?
Yeah, I bought him, I think I bought him a hat and some guitar strings. And I think I bought him a guitar cord.
And it has Fender on it. What does Fender mean?
So Fender is the two different type guitars I had bought him at that store. And we would, that's one of those trips that we would use like the hunting and golfing or whatnot. Music was a bonding kind of thing for us. And sometimes we just went to Guitar Center and he would pick down the most expensive guitar in the store, made me nervous as hell, and he would just sit there and play it. We would just spend hours in Guitar Center just kind of going through guitars and just we didn't never even buy anything a couple of times. We just went in there and let him play guitars and just kind of roamed around looking.
Okay. You heard Marcy testify that you threw Colt's guitar across the road. Did you ever do that?
Those guitars are so sacred to that boy, and on top of they're fairly expensive. When I heard her make that statement, I wanted to go have my family get that guitar and bring it in here. There's not a scratch on that thing. I don't care what kind of disagreement I'm having with him or her. I would never do that. Was a kind of a very sacred thing between him and I, and we shared a lot of time over guitar. So throwing that thing would not be an option.
Okay. Now, let's jump to the day of this horrible incident. You leave that morning. Did you take Coley that morning, or did you just go straight to work?
No, I try to take Coley to school every single day. We kind of had our own little ritual.
Okay. And where were you working? What were you working on at that time?
So I was finishing Rockdale County Fire and was engaged in Forsyth County Fire, finishing out both projects.
Were you nervous that Colt might not go to school that day?
Yeah, there was I think a couple days before, he had told me I went to school, and I found out that he didn't go to school. So, I was nervous.
Okay. Was there a reason that you would not want to put him in the car, take him to school, and then go to work?
Well, there's a couple things. His bus came at a time, it was before Jenny, but it was later in the morning. So I'm relatively new at Kevin Price. I'd taken a day or two off already. I'd taken a field day trip with little Coley, and so for me to have to do that, it would put me at work late, super late. So had that conversation with Colt, like, I need you to go. He assured me he was going to go. And I felt generally comfortable that, I connected with him. I was still in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I need you to go kind of thing. And nervous, yeah, but I knew that he would go. I felt like he would go.
Okay. Did it ever cross your mind that he would be able to put this weapon that we've seen into a backpack and get it into the school?
Not only, no, I never imagined that in my wildest dreams. I never thought that he would even have a thought process of bringing a gun to school or doing any kind of harm to anybody else, let alone anybody at school. So, no, that was not on my mind at all.
Okay. And did you know anything at all about, did he ever talk to you about any obsession that he had with school shooters?
No, sir.
We've seen this big poster of newspaper articles and photographs of various and sundry people. Did you see that in his room at any time?
I did not see that poster. There was one point in time where I went into his room originally. So Colt, typically his room was usually always dark. He had a room darkening shade on even for the daytime. Lights were off. His monitor screens were usually the only light in the room. I had gone in there to take him dinner one night, and there was a picture on the wall. It's a young kid. I didn't know who it was. We had been talking about, we always talked about bands and different things, and he always would say I was old, and I would tell him that band members we talked about, their kids are starting bands. And I was like, man, who is that? He was like, you don't know who that is? I'm like, no. I said, I think that's that kid's son from Green Day, like the band. And he laughed. I'd never seen that picture before, didn't know who it was at all, and that's kind of where the conversation ended.
Okay. And you've heard testimony about in photographs where these, or some of these, were on the wall a couple of months before that.
Right.
And did you see those photographs as they were brought in?
No, I didn't see the shrine at any point in time in Colt's room. I think I told Investigator Smith when I saw that for the first time was during that interview. And I don't even remember seeing it on the day I went home of the shooting. I pointed out to Investigator Smith, I'm like, that single picture of that kid with the glasses right there, that's the only picture I ever remember seeing on his wall or talking to him about,
Okay.
other than the concert posters and whatnot.
So when you went home that day, before the police got to your home, you didn't see those photographs then?
When I went home, I got home after Marcy, Jenny texting back and forth. I went to the house, went in. Marcy had texted me what she thought had happened, and I just could not get my mind wrapped around it. There's absolutely no way. I went into the house. I went to my room, or little Chloe's room, into my closet where guns are stored, and I moved everything out of the way to check there first. Weapon was not there. I'm like, shit. Went down the hallway, cracked open his computer room door. Now, that was not his bedroom. His bedroom was in the laundry room at that time. So if I did all my talking to Colt at that point, once we switched the rooms, it was in his laundry room bedroom. I cracked the door, looked in there to see if I saw a gun or his gun or anything like that in case it was in there. Did not see it. I didn't see any shrine or anything on the wall. Never saw it.
Okay. Well, you had plenty of time while you were there to jerk all those off the wall, didn't you?
Yeah, I could have done that easily, but I'll say this, I didn't know, even 17 killed, like I read that, I can understand, but I couldn't tell you anybody in the shrine by picture who any of those people were. I had no idea.
Did he have other things on his wall at various and sundry times?
He had all kinds of stuff. We'd hang targets that we'd go shooting with. We had concert posters. He had some weird poster. I still don't know who the guy is with the red hair. He had his deer that he shot mounted on the wall.
Have a flag in there at one time?
He did have a flag that Jenny bought him.
And I know I'm not going to go all over it's getting almost lunchtime. I'm not going to go over all the flurry of text. You've already seen those back and forth between you and Jenny and Marcy. But when you got home, did you turn the TV on? We saw the TV was on when they were
so when I came in the door, the TV was on. And that my first few steps in the kitchen, I remember hearing that TV, and I thought, see, this isn't him. He skipped school today again. But my initial thought was that, man, like he didn't go to school today. I was kind of upset about that because I heard the TV.
They played a clip when the officers came up, and there was something kind of unclear that they said, and then you said, I knew it. What were you talking about?
So after me looking for, the SIG weapon, after the texts I received from Colt, this is not your fault, I'm sorry, all the things that we all saw and read, Marcy's kind of phone call to me is the first time anybody had ever said to me anything about school shootings. And I remember her saying, he talked to me all the time about school shootings, and she was crying, and I'm like, what? I said, I've never heard anybody say anything to me about school shootings just calm down. I remember telling her, there's no way this is Colt. And then Jenny's text. So those combinations of all that happening, when the police showed up, and I thought, okay, that's what when I said I knew it, I kind of pieced everything together of what was being said to me through texts and phone calls with Marcy, and I'm like, shit. The gun wasn't at the house, so I kind of knew it at that point what had happened.
Did you mean that you knew he was going to do this?
No, that's not what the statement was. Like, I knew he was going to school to do what he did.
You heard Jenny testify.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell her to lie about anything?
I would not tell my children to lie. We go back as far as anybody wants to go. Purpose of the bubble, all of this was to create an environment for my children to tell the truth. I don't care what you've done. So we could work things out. Never, I've got family in law enforcement. I would never tell her to lie about anything, first of all. But something serious like this, at this point, I still want to know what the hell happened. So I would never ask her to lie or cover up about anything. In fact, on the way there, what she said to me was, Colt was fascinated with school shootings. And I remember looking at her and saying, why would you say that? Why didn't you tell me? And she said, he made me promise not to tell you. And I said, Jenny, I needed to know things like that. And she said, well, I'm scared. She said, do you think this is what this is about? And I'm like, the interview, and they're talking to me and her. And I said, I'm sure it is. Pulled in that parking lot, sat in that truck. She said, how long do you think this is going to take? I'm like, I have no idea. But the last thing I told my child was, whatever you do, don't lie. Just tell the truth. Just tell them what you know and don't lie. That's the last thing I remember telling Jenny when we went in there.
Were you upset and surprised when she came in and said that?
I am still to this moment extremely shocked. I know that's Jenny Gray. That's my daughter. I don't know who that was sitting up here. That's not. She doesn't act like that. She doesn't talk like that. I was shocked at what she said. I don't know how else to put it.
When she came to live with you, did you give up your master bedroom for her? So part of the frustration probably with Colt as he saw it, I kind of gave Jenny a little more than I would give the two boys. I come from a family of girls, and Jenny was kind of special to me, and so I wanted her to feel that I loved her and she was safe there and didn't have to deal with anything. So I said, you live with 3 boys now, so I'm going to give you the master bedroom, the master bath, so you have privacy. I had heard and listened and been around sisters my whole life, so I know she was reaching that age, and I wanted her to have that privacy to not have to deal with Colt and all of us. So I made sure she had her own space in there to do whatever she needed to do. So yes, I did. And did you and Jenny ever argue? Did y'all have any problems?
No, Jenny and I, was kind of a shocking thing to hear her talk about. Colt didn't really go, but Jenny and Coley and I, it's rare, if at all, that we miss church. Our Sunday was go to church. She's a big reader. I would take them to Barnes & Noble right across from Athens Church, spend money on books for her, spend the day there. So we just had a really good relationship where she saw what I was doing for her and with her, and bought her an iPhone. I didn't buy anybody else an iPhone. I had to save a little bit longer. She was very patient and waited. But I just tried to do extra things. So Jenny and I really never had a riff, and I could talk to her about things, and she could talk to me about things. Jenny was wise beyond her years. You know, she's very calm and perceptive and understood a lot more than people give her credit for. She's a smart kid too. So in my mind, we had a great relationship.
Okay. Is there any, if you can remember, any red flag or anything that Colt did that would make you believe that he would ever be capable of doing this act?
No, I struggle with it every day. I've never seen that video until yesterday. You know, he's a good kid. You know, he wasn't perfect, nor was I. But to do something that heinous, like I don't know if anybody could ever see that kind of evil. And it's like the Colt I knew, and relationship I had, there's this whole other side of Colt I didn't know existed. So, no.
Was everything you did for Colt, did you try to placate him and try to make him okay?
I did. I just wanted him okay.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a lunch recess. We'll be in recess till 1 o'clock. All right, we'll be in recess now.
I want to make sure I have all of them.
You know what I mean? I was like, I kind of backed off it.
All right. Yep, and there they go. All right. So, what do you guys think? How is Colin doing on the stand? He's building a high rise, 100%. 17% of you thought that. 35% said construction is weak, 50%. Time to demo the site, 47% of you thought that. So 17% thought he's doing well. Actually, very well. 36% of you thought he's average, and then 47% so far thinks it's he's not doing so well. All right, let me get to a quick little recap. Let's see here, and we're going to talk to at the end of the day. We're going to talk to Cuda Girl to get her impressions. So we're going to talk to Cuda Girl to get her impressions. So you guys are going to want to stick around for that. But for now, we're on lunch. So again, he's just kind of talking about he didn't see any communication with people on the dark web. Again, here Mr. Barry's bringing up the dark web. He never heard anything about hurting people or taking out of high school. He tried to spread out buying things for the kids as best as he could. He says we text a lot throughout the day. Oh, and members, you'll be able to get my dial-up and cable. So we have 3 levels of membership. So the lowest is Rabbit Ears. And thank you guys for the memberships. Really appreciate that. Anthony, you dropped some memberships, so appreciate that. Joanne as well. So Rabbit Ears will get you access to some things. Then we have dial-up, and then we have Cablevision. So we're offering my notes at the end of each day to dial-up and Cablevision. So, but there's also, I do some cooking, so there's some cooking channels. I play some guitar, so there's some guitar. I'm actually going to start to do that more often, so that's to come for you guys. So, and we also upload, video and pictures of our cats, if you guys are interested in that. So anyway, you have access to my notes, so that's what I'm reading right now. Oh, and also I forgot, new mug just came in today, or actually yesterday. So I got my new obsidian mug, so very happy about that. All right, so he talks about this this blood on his hands, right? Okay, so he says it's about there was a disagreement about going to school, and Colt didn't like Colin taking sides because when so Colt and Marcy got in this altercation, and I guess Colin took Marcy's side. So Colt always held that in the back of his mind. So it kind of sounds like it was almost like this joke, if you will. When she does do that. I'm sorry. It was okay. So Colin took the side of Marcy when they got in the fight, but then when Marcy said she was going to take out Colin and Colt held that as resentment. So then it kind of became almost like this joke that if that actually did happen, if Marcy was able to take them out, then that's the blood that would be on his hands. So take that for what it is. He never thought Colt would harm anyone. Okay, then let's see what else. Marcy never told him about Colt being obsessed with school shooters like Nick Cruz, nothing about taking out his own life, nothing about taking out other people. He tried to be as positive as he could with these kids. Then he gets into this. He reached out to Apalachee High School and he wanted to see if Colt could retake the 8th grade. So he was told that I don't remember him saying who it was, but some counselor or some person that would help with the getting, working out his schedule. He was told she would work on a schedule for Colt, and then they would do like this hybrid thing. So it would be part of 8th grade, so he would do some classes on 8th grade, some classes on 9th grade. But they said it will take some time to build the schedule, so he won't be able to start on time. And that just makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. All right, let's do this. This is the schedule. School started August 1st. His first day was the 14th. So you're telling me it was going to take 1 full week plus another 3 days? So that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. So it took 11 days for them to work on this schedule. And I know a lot of you were saying I'm calling BS, and I'm like, that come on, man. That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, that's what he's saying. So, and they will start a couple weeks later. So that's the reason for the gap of Colt starting late. Then Colt loved people. He loved the people. Okay, yeah. So he's saying Colt loved the people. Colt loved the people. I love the school. I love the people. He was texting him about that kid with the beard. Blah blah blah. So if Colt loved the school, loved these people, he went to school 4 times. The 14th, the 19th, the 20th, and the 26th. Oh wait, on the 26th he had a panic attack. So if he loved the school so much, why is he missing all the school? Why is he not going? Right? Again, makes no sense. All right, what else? He met with Lisa Butler. He told her about Colt's anxiety, but the anxiety was more fear-based. Colt suffered from stress. He never told Marcy Colt was a piece of crap kid. Colt didn't have a lot of trust in school systems or counselors. He wanted Colt to believe in this system and that they had his well-being first and foremost. They were supposed to meet on the 5th, right? Go figure. Surprised it wasn't the 4th, I mean, just crazy. All right. He says he, meaning Colin, had compiled a bunch of places in searching and talking to people about, trying to get Colt help. I think he did like 3 or 4 searches. So that's a bunch of people, I guess, for him. And then the Saturday. Okay. Remember, he didn't pick up Marcy, and he stayed home and he watched University of Georgia. He watched a Georgia football game, college football. So he didn't pick her up that weekend because he said, well, first of all, I may have had to work possibly. Second of all, was Colt and Jenny weren't fired up about Marcy coming up. So instead, they went to the Guitar Center, and that's when he bought the Fender hat. Did you throw the guitar? He says, hold on. Did you throw the guitar? He's like, those guitars are so sacred and fairly expensive, and he wanted to have his family bring the guitar in here. I wish they did. I wish they would. I wish they would bring in that guitar and show. And hey, here's the guitar that Marcy said that I threw. All right. He was nervous Colt might not go to school because Colt was not going after telling him he was at school the few days before. All right. It never crossed his mind Colt would put the AR in his backpack. He didn't know about the obsession with the school shooters. Okay, here's the thing with the shrine. And he calls it a shrine, right? He says he didn't see the poster in Colt's room. He says the room was usually dark. He said he took dinner in one night and saw a picture on the wall of a young kid. There's a problem right there. Why are you taking dinner into your son's room? Why aren't you making him come and sit at the dinner table? Or at least sit on the couch and watch TV together, right? I'm not here to offer any professional advice, but I am telling you, as somebody who grew up with knowing dinner was always on the table at like 6:15. My mom always had dinner for us, and I looked forward to it. And I remember once I was it was in between, I was in college, and I was in between, it was summertime. I was hanging out with my buddies, of course, doing what 18, 19-year-olds do. And it was like, 5:45, 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh man, I got to get home. I got to get home for dinner. And my one buddy's like, oh, mommy's made you dinner. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I look forward to that. I look forward to sitting at the table with my parents. I look forward to sitting at the table and talking about my day. I look forward to that. And that sticks to me to this day. I'm like, make sure you have dinner with your kids. Don't give your kids dinner in his room. What are you thinking? At least get him out of the room and at least sit on the couch and watch TV or talk or something. But don't say, hey son, here's dinner in your dark room. What are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, so he didn't see the shrine. He said the room was usually dark. He took dinner. He saw a picture on the wall of a young kid. And he says, who's that? And Colt's like, you don't know who that is? And he's like, I thought it was the son of the guy from Green Day. They both laughed, and that was it. He didn't see the shrine at any point of time, so he calls it a shrine. He said saw it for the first time during law enforcement during the interview. Sharon, it's just the way you string it. Some left-handers play it as is, so you string from low E to high E, right? So you have a low E, which is the bass for right-handed guitars. It's low E, which is the bass, to a high E, which is more treble. And some left-handed players just flip it right over and they play like that. Others restring it so that it matches the right. So there is no difference, to be quite honest. It's not like it's specially made or anything. It's if you want to string it low E, which is the bass string, to high E, which would be the treble, you can do that, or you can just flip it over and you can just play it like that. So there's really no special left-handed guitar. Let's see what else. All right, so he saw the shrine for the first time. Okay, he's got home. Okay, this is kind of important. So he gets home after the shooting and he goes and he checks this closet for the weapons. He said he cracked the door. He cracked the door of the computer room. He didn't see the gunner's shrine. Instead of just like walking in, he cracks the door and looks in. It's your house, man. Just walk in. He had time to pull down the shrine, but he didn't. No, there was only 5 minutes. He got home at like 27 after, and the law enforcement showed up at 32 after. So he only had like 5 minutes before law enforcement showed up. Because don't forget, he stopped off at the quick trip, whatever. He stopped off at the gas station convenience store to buy something. So there you go. Yep, Gordon knows. He's a guitar player. So yeah, there's no special left-handed guitar or right-handed guitar for that matter. Got cat fur. Says he wouldn't lie to his kids. He says he has family in law enforcement, and at this point he still wants to know what the hell happened. He said Colt is fascinated with school shootings. He says, why didn't you tell me? Oh, this was Marcy. So Marcy's told him on the way to her interview that Colt was fascinated with his schools. And he said, why didn't you tell me? And Jenny says, because I was afraid, I was scared. So the last thing he told Jenny was, whatever you do, don't lie. He was extremely shocked that Jenny said what she said. He says, that's not my daughter. He's like, she doesn't act that way. I'm not going to answer that. She doesn't act or talk that way. And then he gave Jenny the master bedroom. He says he comes from a family of girls. I think he said 3 or 4 sisters he has. Jenny was kind of special, and this is when he got emotional. He's like, he knew that she was reaching that age, so that she needed space. She needed her own space from the 3 boys. He said whenever they would go to church. Stop it! Come on. Whenever they would go to church, they would go to Barnes and Nobles afterwards. She was a reader, and she said she was a reader. So he would buy her books. He thought they had a good relationship. And then finally, he said, Colt, he's a good kid. He wasn't perfect, but neither was I. He says, to do something that heinous, I don't know if anyone could see that kind of evil. The Colt I knew, there's a whole nother side I didn't see. Not I did see, I didn't see. I just want him to be okay. So, all right. Let's see. Kuda says, let's see, I can take this off probably. You're driving right now because we're on lunch. I'm starving. And the last comment, he made, oh my gosh, you guys, oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Yep, go get some lunch. I'm also going to get some lunch. We ordered some pizza. It is Pizza Friday after all. So we're going to feed the kittens. We're going to get some, hopefully our pizza will be here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. Kuda girl, safe driving, get yourself some food, and we'll talk to you at the end of trial, because I really, 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 really want to hear what you have to say. So eat all day, get big easy. There you go. All right, let's get some music going for you guys, and I'll get Kitty Cam going as well. First, we have to feed them, though. All right, enjoy your lunch. We'll see you in about 40 minutes.